All right, let's go, let's go, let's go, says Isabella. Isabella, yes, I have a, well, some people call it a lollipop. I call it a popsicle, but this is an orange popsicle, or an orange sickle. But it triggered me a little bit. My OCD got triggered, and I wanted to see if you can see why. What is wrong with this orange sickle? Other than the fact that I've taken a bite out of it already. But that's not really wrong. It's a creamsicle, orange creamsicle, right? The stick is off center. Can you see this? It's like way off to the side. The stick is crooked. I would like my money back after I eat it. After I eat it, I'm going to ask you for a refund, full refund. Because that clearly is a defective creamsicle. Now, you guys are upset as I am, huh? Well, I'm going to eat this on camera because this is the last part of my lunch, part of a delicious, nutritious lunch. And we've got a little bit of a waiting game going on, so I have time to eat a creamsicle. The stick is OODA looped. It's cold, too. What did I have for lunch? A little bit of this and a little bit of that. But it did include some pickled jalapenos made by a good friend of mine here in the area. And man, are they spicy. They get better and better. I'm on the second jar that he's given me. And the first jar, I probably ate a little bit too early. They really hadn't absorbed the pickling flavor. It was more jalapeno than that. This there was some strong pickling and some strong heat. So it was really good. Speaking of being really good, Golden Mom. Oh, I can't quite scroll up that high. I can't quite get to it. I'll get this one instead. Golden Mom was first in chat here after lunch, and posted, and I think she said hey or something to that effect. But my poll is covering that, and we do have a poll up right now. I put it up, and most of you, looks like quite a few of it anyway, have voted in this already. And this is a little bit different poll than what we did before. Every other time we've asked you, how would you vote if you were on the jury? And this poll is a little bit different because we're asking you, how do you think the jury is going to vote? Which is a different question altogether. This is like a statistics 101 tactic, where people will respond differently when you're asking them, how do you think other people will respond, instead of how do you feel? So this one might be more true, might be more true to the situation. But we're going to go ahead and end this poll here in just a second. I know let's keep it going because we've got people flying in the door right now. So we'll give it just a little bit longer. If you have not voted in the poll, please do so. Read the questions carefully. This is, how do you think the jury is going to vote? But Golden Mom, thanks for being first in chat. You have won the internet for the day. And it might be for the whole day because we might just be going through all the way through verdict watch right here with the Aaron Dean trial, which would be really cool if that happens. Looks like most of you are filing in. Hopefully you got a little bit of a break, a little bit of lunch. Just seeing who made it here and who has questions. Loads of new documents dropped for Letitia Staunch case this morning. For anyone who's following that case, do head over to Discord and check that out. Great information there. This thing's going to melt on my hand if I'm not, or on my laptop if I'm not quicker. I'm going to have to eat more. I'm missing DMB's messages. Why is DMB's messages being deleted by Toxic? Toxic, What's wrong? What did DMB do? Was it an accident? Was it an accident? Let's see. Yeah, DMB is back, I guess. So that's so good. So we're good here. I'm watching two streams. We're up on the screen. We're watching to see if we get a live stream from the Bradley Yawn case. This is a per se guy who's just going to represent himself, and he's got a bit of a mouth on him, a bit of a sailor. He was mad at the previous hearing that was held because the judge did not get the U.S. mail that he had mailed just prior to Thanksgiving and over the weekend. So obviously, for those of you in the U.S. know that U.S. mail is not delivered on Thanksgiving, nor is it delivered typically over on Sunday. And so a Monday morning hearing, there's a good chance the court's not going to get if it was mailed right before Thanksgiving. So not a corn dog. I will say that these used to be bigger. If you look at this, I don't have huge hands. But I remember creamsicles being larger when I was a child than this one. It seems like the box is the same size, but the creamsicles have gotten smaller. Cream's out the bottom. Yeah, it's going to be dripping out the bottom here in just a minute, so I have to eat faster. I'm going to get a brain freeze. Do you guys get brain freezes? Sam Terry votes for a DB 2.0 trial. That's what we're getting. We're struggling to find feeds right now. Currently, only Law and Disorder has it, and that might be a problem. It might change how we have to watch it. So we might have to watch it in segments with pauses a little bit, because they're a little tighter on their description of fair use than other places. You grew up, you're bigger than an 8-year-old you. A little bit, mostly width-wise. Brain freeze is natural when biting ice cream. Oh, I've always bit ice cream. My teeth want to taste the ice cream too. Ola, is that really a thing? Wibbly wobbly wonders? I mean, it sounds like it should be a thing. Obviously made by the chocolate factory in Charlie and the Chocolate Factories. Willy Wonka, I think, would be the company. Is that a thing? We're almost done. I probably will never eat on stream again because I feel like it's all over my face. But all the time, and not only to ice cream eating related. So far, so good. All right, so we've had some time here for the poll to run up. We've got about 100 people in chat, just shy of 100. If you haven't taken a look at that poll, please click on it and get your input in right now. Remember, this is how do you think the jury's going to vote, not how you would vote. How do you think the jury's going to vote? That's cold. That's really cold. I put my popsicle stick inside a used water bottle because I'm not a heathen. I don't leave it on the desk. Food on a stick is quite handy. I will say that. I do like other foods on a stick. I do like corn dogs as well. And sort of, I guess Chinese food is sort of like food on a stick if you eat it with chopsticks. Okay, thanks for that tip. I just got a tip on the burner phone. So let's see. my mom would yell at me for leaving popsicle sticks around. She was right, AJ. She's right. You should not leave popsicle sticks around. It's just not nice. Somebody has to clean up after you. So on verdict watch we're watching here, the jury went out at 12:15 p.m. So we've given them an hour and a half. I don't anticipate anything back within 2 hours because they had lunch. I'm sure they had lunch, which probably takes an hour. And then they're following the jury instructions, which is, electing a foreman or choosing a foreman, and then probably reading through the charge or reading the instructions again, and then taking a straw poll to see where they stand. And then if for some reason on their first straw poll, everyone's like, yes, we all feel the same, whether it's guilty or not guilty, I still can't see it coming back any sooner than 2 hours. And that would be fast. Orange Julius from the mall. Oh, those were good. Food is also better exploded like popcorn. Give me another example, Katrina. What other food exploded is delicious? I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm curious. Okay, so I think we've got enough votes in to get a good representation for the jury. We've got over 100 people in here. Looks like they voted. We're going to go close the poll right now. Just so you know, the results we get here are how you think the jury in this trial will vote. Not what you think or what you would vote. So let's go ahead and end that now. And here's what we get. Not guilty, 34%. So with just over a third. Sorry, that gave me the hiccups. Guilty of manslaughter is 29%. Hung jury is 20%. And guilty of murder is 14%. I think that it would probably be safe to assume that we could combine the 29% and the 20% to reach 49% of people who feel he's guilty. Or sorry, 29 and 14%. That changes a little bit. So that takes us down to 43%. But still, we've got more people who say guilty than not guilty. And hung jury is obviously split. So interesting results. It has changed over time. When we first started, it was almost an 80-20 split as far as not guilty to guilty. It's definitely changed. So the prosecution has been effective in their presentation of evidence, or at least the evidence that has been presented has been impactful for you. Richard Davis says, Recovery Addict, I was at Matt's site and watched his vid about recording police, and he mentions uploading to the cloud in real time. How can I do that on an Android phone? No joy yet on the Google. There are a couple ways. I know there's an ACLU site. There's actually an app you can get that when you're filming police, you use that tool, and it's a camera app. And as you film, it uploads it to their website. So it goes straight to the ACLU. So you can be like, yeah, you can take my phone, but the ACLU already has it. It's not that I'm going to put it up on YouTube or it's up somewhere else or I've saved it or I can recall it. It's already goes to the ACLU. But there are different ways to do that. That's one of them. Live streaming, what I'm doing here, Richard, if you have a YouTube account and you verify your account, which I believe involves you either verifying your phone number or your email address, you will gain the ability to live stream, to go live from a mobile device. I think it's a mobile device. I have to check that because their rules change a little bit. But you can go live from your device on some other platforms as well, where maybe it's Facebook or maybe it's Twitter or something like that. You can basically go through the app and hit the go live button and then hit the button and it goes out and it's saved on the platform generally. So that's one way to do it. Michelle Starks missed this morning. Jury watch? Yes. The jury is out deliberating right now. We think they've finished lunch and have started their labors. They started at 12:15 p.m. Eastern time, which I now have, looks like they've been out for about an hour and a half. Now that I ate that popsicle in front of you, everyone's talking about different cold treats that they enjoyed, and I think I've eaten all of them that have been mentioned so far. I like sweets, some more so as a kid than I do now, but yeah. Pop Rocks explode, yes, and okay, that's another one. That is a good one, but if they were pre-exploded, I would not eat them. I will only eat Pop Rocks if they have not exploded yet. Anything can be exploded if you have the means and the opportunity. True. I concede the point. Pop Tweet. Okay, yes. I had this for lunch. I mean, just now, and I did not think of Pop Tweet that way, but the Puffed Wheat with the sugar coated, it has to be sugar coated, sugar puffs as they call them here, is delicious. So I had cold cereal for lunch because I'm an adult and I can choose things like that. Adulting is hard, but I made the hard choice and I chose to have cold cereal for lunch. Out of everyone who said yes to having a gun, who of you actually actively train or take training courses for self-defense? Or do you know your laws for self-defense in your state? That is a great question. I will say that I knew the laws in the state a lot better in my previous state than my current one. But train, yes, I did classes. I've been with SWAT teams. I've even shot their machine guns and their grenade launcher, which is a blast. If you ever get the chance to shoot a grenade launcher, do it. For some reason, I had the idea in my head that because it's this little, plastic cartridge fired by a .38 caliber blank and a big rubber bullet in the front, because it's a big bullet, I thought it would be like slow and have a long arc to the trajectory. And so as I'm aiming at the target, which was a human silhouette on cardboard, as I'm aiming at that, the officer who I'm talking with, I said, so how much compensation do I need to factor in on my aim here? He's like, no, not much. It's pretty accurate. I'm like, oh yeah, so maybe I'd give it about a foot. So instead of doing like mid-sternum, I'm going to aim for the head, okay? I shot that grenade launcher with that rubber bullet, and I beamed that target right in the head. There was no drop whatsoever. And I realized that, yeah, that would stop. That would hurt if you got shot with a rubber bullet. But that was a lot of fun as well, as were the machine guns. Popped green beans or popped chips? I probably have, not on the green bean side, but maybe on the chip side. Sounds delicious. Mr. Terrible says, I live in Florida. I have 17 guns and 9 rifles. That's because we have alligators that try to eat me. No, not necessarily, but you do have alligators down there. Michelle says, yes, AJ, what is Mrs. R.A.'s opinion? I can try to bring her in. I'm not sure if she's busy. I think she's just made some delicious cinnamon rolls, I can tell you that, which are absolutely incredible. If you've ever had a cinnamon roll, hers are better. Just, I can say that unequivocally. They're delicious, and I think she was taking a nap, so she's probably not going to come down right now to be on the stream. Oh, breaking news. Let's see what happened here. 6.1 magnitude earthquake in Alaska in the Aleutian Islands. And let's see. Dating app suspect Timothy Olson asks for a new public defender. Haven't followed that one, so I'd have to look and see what's up there. But I just hope the town rallies around Zion so he doesn't grow up angry. I hope he also has some good support. I hope his family's doing better. I know his mom had some health problems. I think she's healthy now, but hopefully I do have support. I need some food now, exploded or not. Yeah, I don't have her opinion readily available, nor would I dare try to put it out there for her, because she's much more eloquent than I am, and me trying to simplify it would probably lose aspects of it. I'll keep an eye out for her. If she pops in, I'll see if we can put her on mic. Tom says, the only reason I was asking those questions is because almost every state's requirement for a carry permit is very little bare minimum info for training purposes, meant further training. Right, Tom, in Utah, where I got my first concealed carry permit, you could get it in an afternoon, a single afternoon in one class. They had a break in the middle, so you could go get a drink. But it was like I'd say maybe a 3-hour class. So it was like an hour and a half break and then an hour and a half. There was no firing of a weapon included. There was no accuracy tests. Basically, you filled out most of the class. Half the class was telling you how to fill out the paperwork. The other half was quickly going over the law. And then there was a brief moment where they had some firearms without any ammunition in a safe training scenario, where you could demonstrate how to put fake ammunition into the gun, so you knew how to handle the gun as far as functionally, and also a little bit regarding safety. But that was it. And then the Utah being a shall issue state, you don't have to have a reason for a carry permit or anything else. And so I got it. And a lot of states honored that permit. There's a reciprocity, is that right? Or is it reciprocity, I think is the right word. But that was allowed, and then a lot of states said, hey, because you don't have a safety or a shooting test, we won't honor it. But Utah actually changed the rules completely and said, well, now we're a constitutional carry state. You don't even need a license. Just being a resident is enough. Okay, fully loaded exploded potato. That is good. They were called Cosmic Candy. Pop Rocks is a better name, though. You have to admit, Ginger. That's just it sounds right, and it's a good description as well. Eggs and rocks explode in microwave. I won't say how I know. Okay, I'm getting reminders about my meeting tonight, so we'll hopefully everything will work in the schedule properly. Okay, I'm just catching up on chat because you guys were here a long time before I was. The crowd is baying for Mrs. R.A. Yes, Mrs. R.A.'s opinion. I see that. There was a shooting at Chandler, Arizona. Yeah, it was outside like an Amazon. I caught that on the news just briefly. I believe the person who was shot was in the hospital, did not pass away. But from the news, I could see there was a privacy screen sort of set up, or a security screen set up around a vehicle in the middle of the intersection. And they said it was not an active shooter scenario. So whatever the situation was seems to have been resolved one way or another. The crowd is cheering for Mrs. R.A. If Mrs. R.A. is upstairs watching the stream, she now knows she has to come down and go live and share her opinion. Yeah, you don't even need a permit now in Utah. You're just good to go. As long as you're legal to own a gun, you can carry it, right? See, in my state here in North Carolina, guns are handled a little bit differently. I was surprised when I first got here to find out that you actually had to get a permit from the sheriff to buy a pistol. You have to get a pistol permit, or to make the purchase, which is pretty much a shall issue as well. But they do a quick check then. I guess it's like another layer of safety, or maybe that itself is the background check, and then you can go purchase the firearm. But you can't just buy from another person as easily as you could in other states. It's like they say, a lot of people like to call it the gun show loophole, where just person to person you could just meet up and trade guns if you wanted. We're still talking about candy. Cotton candy is good. Sweet candy. I guess cotton candy is sort of like exploded. Yeah, it is exploded melted sugar. So that would count, that guy. I think you're right there. Iowa is also constitutional carry. We are on verdict watch. It happened quickly this morning. The judge had I guess he wasn't super quick. He was a little bit late, about 45 minutes late. But the judge read the instructions. We had closing arguments from both sides, and that brought us here. Let's see. Dumber, I see some Russian comments. I'm not sure what it means. I'm not sure if someone wants to translate and then handle it appropriately. but don't want to put it up on the screen. What psi am I? I'm on what psi? What sign? Like astrological sign? I have to think about that one. That's not something I follow very closely. I think I'm an Aries. Possibly. Let's see. You guys, that guy has work, so see ya. We'll miss you, that guy. Thanks for being here this morning. I expect it might be a few days till we hear a verdict. It's a few days, really. That's a long time to wait. If that's the case, then we'll be picking up here this Bradley Yawn case here in about 6 minutes. I think it's going to go live. AJ says, translation here is, I say when they already say the verdict. So something got lost there in the translation a tiny bit, but something about a verdict. On concealed carry, if you ever have an assault ever before, so you can't carry if you've ever had an assault in your record. Cop who broke the law the minute he illegally entered the property, says Douglas. I think, Douglas, whether or not he did, the issue in this case is really going to come down to whether or not she was pointing the gun at him. If you believe she was pointing the gun at him, does the cop have the right to defend himself? Because I think that's the actual factor. And if you believe she didn't point the gun at him, then the cop's in the wrong. If she did, then the cop might be in the right. I don't think you can base it on illegally entering the property because officers, it's been proven that officers have authority to go investigate a call when there's reasonable suspicion. They're acting that way. I think that it would be hard to prove him in the wrong just for entering the property and following what his understanding of the general orders was. You can't uphold the law while breaking the law. Yeah. To me, that's not a clear break of the law. I know they set it up and said basically that this was an unlawful search, but it wasn't a search, it was an inspection of a property that they had been called and asked to inspect by a concerned citizen who had some knowledge of the situation, said something's not right there. So if she had been hostage in the backyard and they hadn't gone back there, we would be like, why wouldn't you check the backyard, right? Why wouldn't somebody go back and look at it? But so I don't think that's going to be the deciding factor. But I don't know. I appreciate your opinion, though. Yeah, we're not sure when the jury's going to make a decision. Some of us think it might be soon. Some of us think it might be a few days. Hopefully it's not a few days. Just finished shoveling my driveway, which means it's going to snow again, Sonny. That's how that works. Make sure you have an option when you're at the Christmas party. Kimberly, I'm trying to think of how I would do that. I'd obviously be on my phone, which I probably should have charging right now. Yep, it needs to charge. Hang on one second. I'll grab a battery. I keep a stash of charged battery packs right over here just for this very purpose. So, and I'll have one with me tonight when I go to the party as well. Let's see. Still nothing from the court. I haven't seen any tweets announcing a verdict either. So we'll see. Dummer says, "Oh, I thought they only have time break only." No, this was about lunchtime, so it was a break for lunchtime. But during the deliberations, the court won't turn on the cameras or won't allow the cameras to be turned on during this deliberation time. They'll just the judge is not in the chambers. He's in his chambers. He's not on the bench, and the attorneys are just sitting there and people are milling about and talking. That's all that's happening. So it would be a great hot mic moment if we could get it, but we don't have that. The way they read the charges, it was either murder or manslaughter. It didn't say a degree on the murder charge. Fourth Amendment, so unlawful search. Douglas, I'm on the fence on this one. See what I did there? I'm on the fence. Because I think there's an argument that it wasn't a search. I think that argument can be made. But at the same time, I don't want the cops poking around my yard just because they think they can. I'd be like, you stay on your street and I'll invite you on if I need you, right? I want that. I want that protection. So that's why I'm on the fence. Recovery Addict, did you take a poll on what we hope the verdict will be or what we think the verdict will be? Yes, we did, Ed. You missed it here right at the very beginning as we're waiting for more information from the court, which we don't have yet. But it was about 34% thought it would be not guilty. I'll have to scroll up and find it. Oh, wait, 34% not guilty, 29% for manslaughter, 20% hung jury, and 14% guilty. So that's how it broke down on the poll, with about 101 votes on that. Could be hours or even days. Please don't say days. Let's see. Just lost the stream on our Bradley Yawn trial. Let's see what happened there. That should be starting any minute now, but it's not. That I can see. Okay, there it is. That's the old hearing. Yep, the stream's gone. It's like they shut it off when it was supposed to go live. I wonder if there was a rescheduling or something. We'll have to keep an eye out on that. If somebody could, let me know if they see anything on Bradley Yawn. For those that don't know, he's similar to Darrell Brooks. He's another. He's acting as his own lawyer, and he's got a little bit of a mouth on him, and he's not happy. He wants out. So, Josh, that's what's up with the other trial, the Bradley Yawn. We're just waiting on a live stream to try to watch that. I'm not finding it right now. The stream we were watching that was supposed to go live at 2, about 2 minutes ago. Instead, it completely disappeared. I'll keep checking that here just to see what's up. But let's see. Nope, I've just got the old hearing from 2 weeks ago. Here we go. We've got a "We'll be right back" on this one. Got nobody. Nobody's got the live stream right now. Okay, so as we keep watching that, let's answer more questions for you. Katrina says, I don't think it will come to a consensus. I think it'll be a hung jury, which means it might be a little while. I don't think the judge will let them reach a hung conclusion in one day. even with the Allen charge, ordering them to go back and try again. Christine says, I have a problem with the cop facing murder charges for making a mistake in the line of duty. Maybe they need special charges for police officers. Christine, I think this this comes from the idea that a police officer is putting themselves in danger to defend, to protect, and to serve. And so we tend to give them a little more leeway, but at the same time we have a lot of accountability there. I mean, more so we ask for body camera footage. We ask them to carry cameras that will catch them doing anything wrong in a moment and can convict them for a word, basically. I don't know. I also have a hard time with laws that treat one group of people differently than others, like hate crimes. How is it worse to commit a crime against somebody who is a member of a protected group than someone who's not? Isn't it the same offense? I'm sure my wife has been putting glue on my weapons collection. She denies it, but I'm sticking to my guns. AJ, we had a couple really awful jokes like that come in from you. Appreciate them, always. Still nothing. For those of you that are checking your sources as well, don't be afraid to hit me up on the burner phone if something does come up. Let's see. 2 weeks ago, live. Shizzy Wiznut, who has 19 subscribers on YouTube, has said he's got the live Illinois versus Bradley on motions hearing, but I'm not seeing anything yet. It just appears to be him on camera right now. Yeah, it looks like Law and Crime took down their connection, took down the placeholder for the trial. Which is super disappointing because that was going to be awesome. Nothing. All right. What happened to the on trial? It's not in the queue anymore. Sorry for the caps bite me. No, I hear you. We're watching as well. We had that pulled up and then it went black and said it's no longer available. Law and Crime has dropped the feed altogether. I'm not seeing it from any other source right now. So we'd have to dig through on out of Illinois to see if that court has a courtroom feed that's available. I'm not finding that available readily, but okay. If that's not going to be here, we're just on Verdict Watch, and I'm fine with that. But Verdict Watch without anything to watch is boring. We could go back and watch the police chase from this morning, which was a lot of fun. Could watch the magistrate feed from out of Knoxville. I don't think they have had any really good ones lately. But okay. Did the charge with Aaron Dean with negligent homicide? Denise, the two charges are either murder or manslaughter. Those are the options. So the manslaughter is the lesser included, right? Charlie says, Recovery Addict, did the experts both testify that in fact it isn't against general orders to announce themselves? They did, but I think they testified the other as well, that said they're not supposed to announce themselves on those calls. So they testified both ways. It wouldn't. They say it wouldn't be against. They wouldn't be against general orders to announce, but not announcing is also okay. So we sort of got it from both sides, depending on the situation. It's the situation that they disagreed on. Was it a new police chase? Yes, it was. Cakesby, it was a chase from last night out of California. We were going to go live last night with it when I first saw it, but as I ran downstairs, bleary-eyed because it was like midnight, I noticed that that there were several news channels, all with independent helicopters up in the air, and when that happens, the nerd in me just gets really excited. And I said, I've got to get all these feeds. And instead of just showing you one of them, we've got to mix and match it and show you this chase from every angle. And so it took me a couple hours to get all the different feeds recorded into my editor, sync everything up time-wise, and show them to you with all the different audio, turning down the audios that's inappropriate at different times for what's being shown on the screen, and just being able to play that whole story with basically from three perspectives simultaneously. Because the end of that chase ends in a little bit of a foot chase, followed by a fur missile biting the wrong person. By wrong person, I mean biting someone who was not in the vehicle, either passenger or driver. And so that was just bizarre. It was fun to watch. It was fun for everybody except for the person who got bit, I think. But I would definitely go back and watch that. It's on my lives. If you go back to my lives, you'll see it. The easiest way to do that is just subscribe to my channel now, and then when we're done here, you can go watch that. So, thanks for being here, Dumber. Appreciate you. Police chase, show police chase, please, says Wayne. I could tell you what. Let's grab just a part of it. I will keep the screen up so I can watch what's happening. Let me do one more quick check for Bradley, and then we'll pull the police chase up. I'm getting nothing for Bradley. Okay. So police chase, dog bites wrong guy. Move that one over here and make it full screen. Now I'm going to cut off some of this, so we're not going to watch, because the first part of this chase was sort of boring in that it was very straight, and there's no crashes, there's no spike strips, there's no pit maneuvers, there's nothing, there's no one's getting shot at, or they don't throw money from the car or anything else. But Richard Davis, what editing software do you use? I use Final Cut Pro. I'm a Mac guy, so that's what I use. Okay, so here we go. We're going to pick up the police chase that I showed from this morning. That's this one right here. So this was from this morning's feed.
James Avenue, picking up steam here as he makes his way through these sets of homes.
This is right before it gets interesting.
On 3 tires, losing some more metal there, and you can see they are able to, they're still behind him. You can see the flashing red and blue lights. A lot of activity coming from that driver's seat.
Sure.
And now back onto Imperial Highway. Slowing down a little bit here, but still looks like they're trying to figure out
so right
where
now
they
we have
want to
one
take
camera.
this, heading back towards the freeway.
We'll bring in more cameras, and you're going to hear 2 audios
back
at the same
towards
time.
The freeway, over the freeway,
because they see
over
different
the freeway,
things.
past a construction zone on Imperial Highway.
Happy birthday, Josh. Thanks for being here. How old are you, Josh, or how old is Josh?
CHP continuing off the freeway.
I'll give a shout out on a birthday any day.
And we'll throw up that real-time speed tracker. It looks like about 45.
So at this point, the front left tire is completely gone. He's riding
hour.
on his rim. There are sparks showing. We sped up these slow parts just a little bit.
Through the red.
But here soon, he's going to come to a stop, knowing that the car just can't go anymore. You start seeing some smoke from the car. He realizes he's sort of at the end. Love this little maneuver here.
Shopping center or gas station. Oh, look at that. A wild move.
I think that gave him the head start he needed to try to make an escape.
Seen here for most of this pursuit. Jump the curb there. use that gas station.
Turned 19 today.
And is now
Happy
picking up
birthday.
speed once again on Imperial Highway.
So we have a female in the passenger seat, a male in the driver's seat.
Brown, joining you now on this pursuit. It has been pretty strange, to say the least. We've got some armed robbery, one armed robbery suspect at the wheel of what is believed to be a
This
Nissan
made you
Sentra.
miss LA. It's like, oh, how nostalgic a car chase. That's funny, AJ.
Eastbound Imperial Highway.
Eastbound on Imperial Highway. The left.
Abby, I'll wish you a happy
missing.
birthday for Christmas, for sure.
And I'm not sure if Chris can hear me. Hey, Chris, can you hear me?
So the second voice we have is the anchor in the studio. So Chris is up in the sky, the anchor's in the studio, and they're going to start talking to each other. And then once we get another picture, we're going to have another right here.
Now he's trying to maneuver through traffic here as he heads on East Imperial Highway.
So we get a little bit of doubling here.
Tire is gone. He's
Let
on
me
the rim
move
of
me
the
out of the way
vehicle.
just a tiny bit.
That has led to some sparks flying on occasion, and to what you would think would be some pretty bad
bailing out. There goes the driver
problems,
out.
but so far he's been able to do it.
Looks like no one else comes out. Black shirt, black hat, blue jeans.
Look at this guy.
Into a business here.
Let's.
Hopefully he doesn't.
Do you see this guy? Do you see what he's wearing? He's got a black hat, a black T-shirt, and blue jeans. And he runs right into this liquor store. Okay, so you can count. It's about 7 seconds between him disappearing off the screen and us seeing up there on the sidewalk to the top of the screen on the right-hand display. You'll see someone walking up there in different attire, right here. So listen very carefully. You're going to hear this sound right here. Whoops, not that one. You're not going to hear that one. You're going to hear this one right here.
That's not him.
Okay. So that's how quick the helicopter can tell it's not him. Ready?
That's not him.
Yep, that's not him.
Inside of a liquor store.
Because that guy's wearing a blue hat and a hoodie, and he's carrying a tall boy.
Under the light. Now we're hearing he's under the light.
That would be a big problem.
So on the left, you're hearing the guy saying he's listening to the police scanner saying under the light. We're hearing he's under the light. So the police think that their driver is under the light, which is the guy who's walking along with the tall boy in the hoodie.
Doesn't look like it. You can see somebody there at the front door. That night's following along the perimeter of the building.
Cop car shows up. Officer out, guns out. Show me your hands. Show me your hands.
I don't think he had
Put your hands up.
Change. He wasn't wearing anything like that when he got out.
He's compliant here, right? His hands are up, and he's surprised at anything. He dropped his beer. He's like, "What's going on?" Right?
I don't think so. But
he does a turn. He turned around, does a circle, saying, "I don't have anything. You got the wrong guy." Now on the left-hand side, you see this. And he's like, "Dude, you got the wrong guy. It's not me. I'm out of here. I did nothing." Okay, this was a mistake. But he takes a couple steps, 1, 2, 3, and here comes Fur Missile from the right-hand side of the screen.
Oh boy.
There's a canine.
Oh, he's going to get canine right now.
And boom.
Oh, boy. Well,
Going to take him down.
Dog bite. Now, if you watch in the bottom, this is the Phoenix's Fox 10 had this angle down here on the bottom, same as Sky 9.
CHP's got their taser there as well.
Taser, I don't think was deployed.
Wow.
You know, we have to run
Or if it
back
was,
some
it
video,
might have missed. This dog is going full chew toy.
Was that person wearing a blue hat and a gray sweater? It happened so quickly that they ran under
you know
that.
what?
We may have to play back
I'm
that
going to be
video if you
honest.
guys get a chance.
I thought they had on a darker colored shirt and it was short sleeve. So
All the people up in the studio and in the helicopters like, "Oh no, that's the wrong guy. That's not him."
Now the dog is. Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
Yeah, and I don't think that's him, Mark. I don't think that's him.
If our director Mark can get us video of the re-rack that video of the.
So the dog's
person
finally
that
been
was
pulled off
running
him.
out
The second
of
dog
the
shows
car.
up. And they're like, "Oh crap, no, that's not the right guy."
He's in there.
But he's still going to be
Trying
detained.
to get that video. We're going to try to get that to you. This doesn't, although he seems to be of similar height. The guy looked like he was pretty tall. But as I recall,
Lawsuit incoming. You'll hear that later. I'll pause it. I saved, if I can show you just for a second, I saved all the applicable sounds from this audio onto my soundboard. So we've got the.
That's not him.
I don't think he had that much time to change. He wasn't wearing anything like that when he got out of the vehicle.
I don't think so.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
there's a canine.
I don't think that's him, Mark. I don't think that's the wrong guy
They
there.
got the wrong guy. I don't think this is the guy either.
You're roughing him up quite a bit.
So what are the odds that they're scooping people up outside of this liquor store?
Yeah.
There's a lawsuit.
There's a lawsuit. So that's what we've got here. We'll watch just a little bit more. But
white shirt, right? It had a white hat.
Basically, how this turns out is they've got one guy in custody, and they'll be treating him. First, they'll keep him right there for a while. They'll get him in handcuffs. They'll get medics there, and they're going to start treating his arm because he's bleeding. This activity behind, they're being a little more cautious in there. So it'll be a while, maybe 5 or 10 minutes before they actually go back and arrest another guy who's laying down behind the liquor store. I think he might have just, stumbled out the wrong door from the store and fell asleep behind the store, because he also is wearing completely different clothing from what the driver was wearing. And so there's the driver on the right-hand side.
Jeans and a black shirt and a black hat. That's who ran out of the vehicle.
Yep.
And that is completely not the description of the person that they had down.
That's completely not the description of the person.
By the,
so they end up arresting two guys that are not the driver. And they also arrest, you see on the left-hand side of the screen, that's the passenger, the woman who was the passenger. They get her as well.
Female passenger.
And then the police say, yeah, we think we got the driver. And that's how it ends. So we think this guy probably made it through the store, out the back, over the wall, and got away when nobody was looking. But he sure looks different than the people that were arrested. Did they get the driver? The police, at the time that I put this together, they said they thought they had the driver. But, I mean, they didn't see what we saw.
Between those two buildings with what looks like a gate. And if he was agile enough, he may have been able to jump over that gate and run into the gap.
I think he looked agile enough.
And then try to make his way down back behind. What do we see?
Okay, so that was the chase from this morning. There's more to it, obviously. But if you guys want to watch that, I would suggest please subscribing to my channel. It is over there on the live feed. You'll get the replay there, and you can get all three camera angles at the appropriate times. Yeah, it was a big boo-boo on the police officer's side. Now, it was also a mistake on that first guy. He disobeyed a lawful order, basically, which to him seemed unlawful. But the police, even though he was mistaken, I mean, this is a similar situation to what we're talking about with this trial. Even though the police officer was mistaken and it was the wrong guy, the police officer can be justified in the force he took. So he's not going to be facing a lawsuit individually, like personally, civilly for that. Let's see what I'm getting. Some burner messages. What are we getting? Let's see. Okay, nothing about this. Okay, thank you first of all for blowing up the burner phone. I appreciate it. Carrie, Little Miss, who else is there? Bella. Several of you have been texting right now. Franco, got that from you as well. That guy. All of you have just sent me stuff from the burner phone. If you guys want to send me something, the channel does have a burner phone that you can text, and you can also leave a voicemail. You can send an image to if you'd like, and if it's appropriate and fits with what we're talking about, I'll be able to share it on the air. But that's where we're at with the police chase. So let me clear that off so we can watch again for Bradley Yon, which we're hoping happens here soon. Let's see, where is Bradley? Not seeing him yet. The B key on my keyboard does not work very well ever since I spilled water all over it, which apparently you're not supposed to do, but now you tell me. Yeah, so the stream is gone. It's gone. It's like they lost the camera source. So we might just be on verdict watch. Jake says, I'm going to call you about your car warranty. Jake, go ahead and do that. I will play that on the air. Not live, but yes. How about watching some of the Sarah Boone interrogation video prior to the court trial? Brent, we're going to do that. We won't do that on today, but there's so much in that Sarah Boone trial. There's so much paperwork and the letters she's written to the lawyer and to the judge, and following all the different changes of lawyers on her side. And there's so much there that you really need to know before we watch that trial, that we are going to have, prior to that trial happening, we are going to have an update. And just realize we've got a date actually coming up here in the next week with that trial, because on the 20th there's going to be a hearing, a status hearing, where we're going to hopefully get confirmation that everything's on schedule and that the Sarah Boone trial will begin on January 30th. That would be like the best case scenario. More than likely, though, Sarah Boone's still going to have issues with her lawyer. Is not going to be happy with how often he's communicating with her. Is not going to like something about it, and that might cause a delay. So, but before that happens, we will do an update, and I'll carry you through all that. We'll watch a ton of video. We'll watch some really hard video, which is the video from her cell phone, showing that George was in the suitcase, saying, "Sarah, please let me out. I can't breathe." And we'll have to edit out some of the words she says in response. But yeah, it's pretty rough. Matthew Harris said, "I'd take that lawsuit under those circumstances. I don't know if the deployment of the canine was justified. It won't overcome qualified immunity, but I think the city would pay for sure. That gentleman is never going to have to pay for a tall boy again, because he's going to own that whole store. He'll own that whole block, I think. Helicopter noise, sirens, I run away, not walk. Do the cops have a description of who they were looking for?" Tom, we didn't hear it. We did not hear the police traffic from the police helicopter. If you go back in the chase and think what happened, that moment when the car pulled into that little store, all the other police officers were sort of right on his tail. Well, he pulled into that store for two reasons. Ahead of him, there was a traffic light with traffic blocking the road. Okay, and so he pulled into that store, and so presumably the police officers follow, and then he did that maneuver where he cut through and got ahead of traffic, and that created a gap, because police officers aren't able to just as quickly cut through recklessly like he did. They have to, take a little more precaution. And so that created a gap between him and the police officers, which then meant that the nearest officer to him when he stopped and bailed out probably wasn't able to get a physical description of him. They could probably see the door was open and that he's running that direction, but he probably wasn't able to get a physical description. So then you're limited just to whatever the police helicopter sees, which has to be relayed back and forth. It may be straight to the dispatch, and then dispatch gives it out to the police officers. So there might be a timing issue where all they know is that this guy ran towards the liquor store, and then here's this person going away from the liquor store. That's most likely what happened, but not sure. Anyway, great questions. I would love to have a copy of the police audio from that. I'd love to be able to hear if that actually... If a description was given right when he bailed or not, and how that happened. To a hammer, everything's a nail. To a cop, everyone is a criminal. We've seen that argument before, and we saw that a little bit on this trial with Aaron Dean, where the officers, it was like a confirmation bias, right? As they came up to the house, when they looked in the house and saw a messy house, to them it looked ransacked. It looked like a burglar, which is what they were thinking this might be, right? This might be, it's not just an unlocked door or someone left their door open at night. It might be somebody broke in and left the door open. So yeah, it's a little confirmation bias in action. Tom trying to find a way to defend this. No, Charlie, I hear you, but at the same time, I think there could be a defense. We don't have all the information. We don't. We like to think we do, and from what we see, we like to be able to make judgments, and I love it. I really do. But in reality, there's a good chance that there's other information that we don't have that would change our opinion. Just like we watched in this trial, when we first heard the prosecution come out with their opening statement at the very beginning of the trial, we're like, open and shut case, lock him up already. Okay, it's done. And then defense came out, and I'm like, hey, that also is a really good argument. There could be additional information we don't know, and hopefully that'll come out in time. I'd really like to know if they can really prove that the guys they arrested was the driver, because they got two of them that seemed to be dressed differently than what the driver was dressed. And last time I checked, the liquor store doesn't sell hoodies. So, Uncivil Law, good to have you here. Welcome. Tell me a little bit about what you do. Do you do YouTube as well? It's good to have you here in chat. Jake, are you from Jake the State Farm? The very same, right, Jake? KQD says, Abby, are you a Christmas baby too? KQD and Abby share a birthday on Christmas. We'll have to wish them a happy birthday early, probably, because I probably won't be doing a live stream on Christmas. Yes, I'm wearing khakis. That's it. Khakis is all we need. You are Jake from State Farm. Katrina's going to go shovel more snow. If you could get everyone's snow in chat, that would be great, so the rest of us wouldn't have to take breaks. Katrina's just getting pounded with snow today. Rough up there, and I believe in the northern Utah area, which just has been cold and very snowy lately. Hi, Uncivil Law. I watch you too. I'm going to have to follow Uncivil Law. Where's Uncivil Law? Did he disappear? This channel setup makes me feel inadequate. It shouldn't. No, please don't. What I lack in knowledge, I make up for in equipment. That's how it goes. Really, the smart people here in chat are the ones that are typing and not talking. So I appreciate you being here. If at any time we could do something together that might benefit you, please let me know. I mean, that would be great. We do have our resident lawyer, Matthew Harris Law, in the room. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask him as well. Welcome, Uncivil Law. Great to have you in chat. We have a few lawyers. I think Cat Law as well is a lawyer, and we have some others that work in the legal profession, maybe not directly as an attorney, but have experience in courtrooms or in law offices as well. You know those neighborhood apps? Several complaints on mine about a couple grabbing deliveries off doorsteps. Sad. I will tell you, I had a situation where I thought that happened at my house. I ordered an item on Amazon, a toy. I won't tell you what it is because my kids might be watching. But it was a toy, and I was watching on Amazon, and my kids love to get packages, right? They absolutely love to run out and meet the package delivery guy. As you know, it's really risky in light of what happened in Texas, right? But run out to meet the package delivery guy on the steps and grab the packages and yay, what is it? Shake it, sort of thing, and try to spoil Christmas that way. But and so I said, okay, kids, the package is about to arrive. It says it'll be here in the next 20 minutes. And they're all sitting down by the door. They're excited. They're looking out the window. They're waiting. And 20 minutes goes by, and there's like nothing. And then I get a little buzz on the phone that says, your package was delivered. It was dropped off on the front doorstep. I'm like, hey, he delivered. It's on the doorstep. We go out. There's nothing there. I'm like, oh, great. One of two things happened. Either you dropped it at the wrong house, which is probable, or you dropped it and somebody grabbed it before we could get it. Like somebody's following the delivery guy and picking up packages, And so I get on Amazon and like, hey, I hate to be that guy, but the package didn't arrive. All your other ones did. I'm just saying this one didn't arrive. And they say, wait 48 hours, talk to all your neighbors. And so I look around, I check the neighbors, can't find it anywhere. And so I say, hey, I need to do something about this because I didn't get the package. And so they file an A to Z complaint, which is sad because I've been an Amazon seller. I am an Amazon seller. And an A to Z complaint means that money is taken back from that seller, and they also don't get the item because it went missing in shipping. Now, they are liable for it until it gets delivered to me. So that's the rules, how they go. That's the how the game's played. But it was sad. So I get the money back from this seller, who's like, are you sure you didn't get it? Because I mailed it. We've got a tracking number that says you got it. I'm like, I didn't get it. And then a couple days later, more packages arrive. And what I think happened was a neighbor may have noticed that they got a package. A distant neighbor may have noticed that we got a package that was not addressed to them. And somehow it was dropped off at our house again. Because in all the pile of Christmas presents and boxes as we're going through wrapping, I find not just the missing package, but also the replacement package, which I ordered from Amazon to replace the missing toy. So now we had them both, and I had the refund. And so here's me. I have to go back and contact the seller, first of all, because if you call Amazon in that situation, I can tell you what they'll do. They'll say, oh, sorry, it was a mistake. Just don't worry about it. Honestly, that's what they say, because they've said that to me before. And I'm like, wait, it's not Amazon who's losing here. It's the seller who lost the product and the money. They lose the money because they've given the refund and they don't have the product. And so I said, I can't do that. So I contacted the seller again and said, hey, can we work out some way? How do I get you this money back? Because I can't return the item anymore because I've already processed a return on it. It's not available to return. But I have it, and I also have the refund. So that's where I am right now. Hopefully the seller will reach out to me with like his PayPal or something, which violates Amazon's terms of conditions. But maybe I'll be able to get him his money that way. Anyway, going back to chat, Uncivil Law says, Matthew Harris, PLC, nice. I live in Austin, thinking about moving to another part of the state, though. A fellow Texan, so two lawyers from the same thing, same state. Appellate brief on a frivolous CPS case as we speak. That sounds interesting. Maybe we can watch that one. Uncivil Law is known to sit on a panel with other lawyers and give commentary on what's going on. Funny commentary most of the time. This is good news. I'm going to go ahead and give you a follow right now on Civil Law, if I don't already. Uncivil Law. It says subscribed. Oh, and I love the hat. I should have known you're from Texas. Legal education with an edge. James Freeman says, I'm not a lawyer, but I play one on YouTube. That would be me. Are you also, James, is that also the situation you're in? Oh, okay, look who's here. Mrs. R.A. Mrs. R.A. just came in and she said, these are not for you. I'm asking for votes. So apparently we need to do a poll in chat where we're going to have to go full screen on this. It's not good enough to be small here. So we have, I'm going to back it up just a tiny bit. We have cinnamon roll number 1 versus cinnamon roll number 2. And you can see the difference is the icing on the cinnamon rolls, which I might have just got all over my hands, and it's delicious. So are you guys a big fan of smothered or drizzled? That's the difference. Smothered or drizzled? That's our poll right now, as far as cinnamon rolls go. And I will say, Mrs. R.A., the chat has been clamoring for your opinion on this. No, they want your opinion on the law, on the case, on what's happening. I'm getting icing all over. I'm about to lick my laptop to get the icing off. It's that good. Okay, so where we are. Okay, well, back. Okay, number 1, civil law says 1. Thank you for that, AJ. Are you counting these? Sam Terry says 2. Angie's a 1. Lindsay Hendricks is going with 1 as well. AJ's with smothered. Paul will take 1 of each.
Okay,
Rowdy also wants both. Looks like 1 is winning. Patty's a 2. Charlie, DMB, more 1s. I'm a fat boy, yes. This is that guy. Linda Hill's 2. I think Smothers is winning.
all right, looks like smothered. All right.
Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And she's now taking the cinnamon rolls. Both of them. I love you too, but a little less so right now. I can't eat it on stream. It would be a mess. She's amazing. She makes the best cinnamon rolls in the world. Actually, a neighbor came up to her and said, what do I have to do to get you to make me cinnamon rolls? And so she is. Okay, so after that little break, let's see, where are we at? I'm sorry to make all of you hungry. If any of you are prepping, trying to get a running start on a New Year's resolution, I do apologize in advance. It's tough to do around here when she cooks like that. It's amazing. At least leave him the losing role, says DMB. I want the winner. I love smothered. The frosting and licking it off everything except for my keyboard. I think it's on my mouse right now. The mouse pad. Don't feed the recovery addicts. He drips. Yeah. I have a history of getting food and drink on my laptop. Why is she taking them? Oh man, you guys are the best. And my wife is the best. She is absolutely amazing. The house does smell wonderful. I know you can get candles that smell like cinnamon rolls. It's not the same. It's not the same. And already this morning, even when the dough was rising, when the tray was out and they're all covered with this little cloth to just let them rise to the perfect height, I could smell already just a little bit of cinnamon that was in the air. I was like, oh, this is going to be a tough day. Anyway, cinnamon rolls are keto friendly now. Yep, they actually fit in every diet, if no one sees you eat them. I think we Floridians may beat out the Texans in chat. Well, the other day we sure did. We have some strong showings in Texas, Florida, and in a little bit in California and Utah. as some of the strong places in the U.S. We also have quite a few people like DB up in Canada. You won't see him in chat because DB watches on his television, is not able to chat, but he does text in on the burner phone, says, hey, I'm here. I want to chat, but I can't. So DB, hope things are going great for you up there in Canada. We've got others up there as well as Abby, also in the UK, drooling over the cinnamon rolls from across the pond. We need to get RA a laptop bib, or maybe a new laptop at the rate I'm going. Let's see. Now I wipe drool off my computer. I literally have icing on my trackpad. It's pretty funny. Still nothing on the news yet as far as the trials. We are watching those. We're in verdict watch right now, and when that happens, we sort of have a little more relaxed environment in here. Our topics that we cover stray a bit farther from the matter at hand, but it's good that way. Cakesby says Daryl Brooks. What about Daryl Brooks as far as the his filing, his appeal filing? Let's see. A couple of you are a little behind just now. Roxanne saying smothered. I think you're not quite up to speed. Hope you can speed me up a little bit. Like watch me on 1.25 speed, and you'll catch up. You'll be up to current in no time at all. Gordon Blackett says I just subbed today from County Durham, UK. I did spend some time over in England. It holds a soft place in my heart for the people over there. Absolutely love it. We have some of my ancestry is from there as well. From the, I guess most recently, like the Rickmansworth area. But spent some time in Aylesbury, Watford, Rickmansworth, Chelmsford, Kings Lynn, Hyde Park. I love over there. I was pretty much north of the Thames and south of Kings Lynn, or Kings Lynn is about as far up as I went, and nowhere farther west than Aylesbury. But anyway, thank you for being here from the UK. I know the time change is a little rough for you guys sometimes when we go live, but it's good. How's the weather there today, Wayne Hatchell? Wayne, where are you at again? You're in Lampus. So Texas making a super strong showing today. And man, I'm getting the burner phone is blowing up. It really is. For those that don't know, we do have a burner phone where you can contact me at any time, day or night. You can call, you can text, you can leave a message, you can send a picture. If it's appropriate, if it fits the topic we're discussing, there's a good chance whatever you share, as long as you allow me to do so, it will end up on air. So go ahead and feel free to text or call or leave me a voicemail. Lil Miss just sent it to me. I did see a text just come in from you, Lil Miss. Let me take a look at this. Terry just sent one as well. A recipe for Lil Miss. Okay, so I just sent it to RA for you. This recipe. So tell me, Terry, I'm supposed to send it to Lil Miss? Is that what you want? We're going to copy that. I'm going to go over to Lil Miss, and I'm going to paste. There you go. Let me know if that worked, Lil Miss. I just forwarded that to you. DB, I think you had a hearing a week or so ago about that, his filing. I think it was the notice of appeal or something. I know he wants to get out on appeal. That is not going to happen. But there's going to be a lot of appeals and a lot of hearings for him. He also has those other cases that are going on in Milwaukee proper. For running over Erica with the same car. So sometimes even if it isn't appropriate. You're right, Matthew. Occasionally some pictures sneak in. Stephen Lee is generally the culprit on those ones, but he makes me promise to show them, and then he sends the pictures, and they're sort of a little bit iffy. You know, things that you wish you could unsee, maybe with a little bit of bleach. But Abby, can you post the burner number again? Yes, I was going to highlight it, but it's way up here somewhere. I should have it on a speed dial, really. But Abby beats me to it. Every single time I say I'm going to post it, she's there before me. There it is. Call Recovery Addicts burner phone, 801-513-1160. Leave a voicemail or a text. That's it. Thank you so much, Abby. Abby's one of our original OG mods here on the channel, and it's just great to have her around. Kat says, Douglas, we moved from Lincoln City, Oregon to Tyler, Texas. We miss the beach. Yeah, I love the beach. I'm not on the beach right now, Kat, but that would be a big change for me to be that far from the beach. Melody says, DB had a hearing in Milwaukee to stall that trial, but it sounds like the DA and defense may be working a deal. He has representation in that trial, right? He's not his own lawyer in that one. So, yeah, we do have some of the best mods here. Abby in the UK, Cakesboo all the way from Australia, just regulating the chat from that side of the world as well. We've got people from all over, and as always, I'm eternally grateful for your help on the channel and what you do to make it be as amazing as it is. Still keep an eye on the feeds. Nothing happening, unfortunately, which means the jury is hard at work doing what they're supposed to do, which they get to do in outside of the public eye. Let's see. We have lots of beach out here in West Texas, although very little ocean. Yeah, the beach goes for miles, miles and miles. Sometimes you could even say hours, right? I know that Texas has a lot of beaches. I have never been to the beach in Texas, but I have family that's been down. Galveston, I think at one point Galveston was an amazing beach. I'm not sure if it still is now. Facts. This is Weather Watch. Used to live in Denver, now near ADAX Federal Prison. It's better to live near the prison than in it, Gene. It was a little a subtle difference in that message that might have changed everything dramatically for you. But that's not a bad place to live. Padre Island. Sounds good. A little bit biased. Thank you. I was wondering why I was going so slow, says Roxanne. Well, you're caught up now. You're caught up. You're in real time. This is the here and now that you're in. All right. My son will be moving to Texas. I may end up following. Where are the white beaches at? I'll see myself at, says Charlie. I will assume, Charlie, you're talking about the white sand beaches, and we have them here in North Carolina. It's a little bit off-color white, but we have beautiful beaches. Look up OBX sometime, and sometime when you want to go on a vacation that you will never forget and will always repeat, come visit us. It's awesome out here. Being in and out, I missed who the new DB is. Anyone know? Let me know. Yeah, the new DB was who we're watching here with, or we were potentially watching. It was Jan is his name, Yohn. First name is Brandon or Braden. Oh, let me see. It was Bradley. Sorry, Bradley Jan. It was supposed to be a trial today that was going to be streamed live. True Celtic, you did not miss the verdict. We're still waiting for the jury to come back. We're doing a verdict watch right now. But there was supposed to be a trial today. There was a trial 2 weeks ago that Law and Crime carried, where you have this guy who's got a little bit of a sailor's mouth on him, a little bit of cusses, but he's represented himself. He's filed a million motions, as any DB wannabe would do. And he was very mad that the judge had not received them yet because he'd mailed them right before Thanksgiving. And I think the hearing was on early in the week following that, so it just hadn't gone through the mail system. Recovery Addict, love your sense of humor. Yes, it's better to live outside of prison where El Chapo lives. Yeah, on that one, you'll definitely want to stay on this side of the bars. I'm packing. I'm moving near the beach in South Carolina. I can't wait. Patty, that sounds beautiful. That sounds wonderful. Hopefully it's you're at a spot that doesn't get hit by a hurricane anytime soon. Okay, we are on verdict watch. That is correct. Thank you, Lori. Keep having to check. Canned Laughter says, Recovery Addict, some of us descend from sailors and truck drivers, and the potty mouth comes with it. Canned Laughter, I've worked in a construction industry for a lot of years. I worked in a metal, a metal shop where it wasn't a fab shop, but we were producing metal components for buildings. Actually, it was a company based out of Lubbock, Texas. But I was at another location, and I learned a lot of words in a couple different languages in that shop. Most of them cannot be repeated here in a mixed company. But I can converse fluently with with all sorts of languages being spoken around me. Let's see. If anybody has any questions for me to answer, please do what Canned Laughter did there and throw my name in your message. Just Recovery Addict. You can put an @ in front of it if you want. It doesn't change a thing for me. Both of them show up in bright orange like that, and I'll be able to answer your question. There are so many people in chat that I'm trying to just limit it to the ones who need a response from me as we sit here and wait for the verdict in Texas v. Arundine. Let's see, still nothing from that Bradley trial. That blows me away. It was like time to start, and then nothing. Then it just went silent. Wow. Okay. Let's see, Matthew Harris says, we won't tell YouTube. Say them. Matthew, I will play them, but you probably won't hear me say them. I've got little kids in the house, and they can't hear what goes on in the headphones, but they sure can hear what comes out of my mouth. And I'm trying to set a good example for them. So funny, we don't say cuss here. We only say swear, says Cakespoo. Same difference for us, right? Although some of the words that are bad for you, Cakespoo, are not as bad for us, and maybe vice versa. Douglas says, Recovery Addict, if entry to the backyard was unlawful, wasn't the rest of the entire ordeal unlawful? That would be like fruit of the tree type thing, evil fruit of the tree. I would say yes, but I don't think it was unlawful. I mean, the officer's not charged with trespassing, and granted, just because he broke a law, he's not going to be charged with it. For example, in a high-speed chase, you might have somebody that runs 12 stop signs and then crashes into 15 cars, and they might face charges for the 15 cars and not for the stop signs. They might have reckless, but it doesn't mean they have to charge for every single crime you committed. But I don't think in this case they could have got a conviction there because the general orders tell them to inspect the building, and the back is part of the building. It wasn't brought up on the in any of the arguments, but there could be an argument that says there may have been another exit on the back of the building that they has to check. So I don't know. Sups up, it's M. Welcome, by the way. Says, do you think this trial will turn out like Kim Potter? I'm refreshing my memory on Kim Potter. Let me take I typed it wrong. That's highly inappropriate. Let's see. Kim Potter. There we go. Sentenced to 2 years in Dante Wright's death. Former police officer convicted of manslaughter in the death of Dante Wright has been sentenced to 2 years. That sort of outcome would basically be a manslaughter conviction, is what you're saying. And I think it would be a higher than 2 year sentence, but probably less than 2 years served. And that is likely. A manslaughter conviction is, I think it's more likely for a manslaughter conviction than a murder conviction in this trial. The person he trespassed against is dead. Douglas, I agree. It's a problem. Okay, I'm not saying that everything was perfect here, but it was a scenario where to some degree both were right up until the trigger was pulled, and then whoever pulled first was wrong. But they wouldn't know they were wrong until after they pulled the trigger. That's sort of how I see it. Fruit of the poisonous tree. Matthew, that one escaped me for some reason. I just could not get the saying out. Thank you for that. General orders do not override the Fourth Amendment or the Castle Doctrine. Okay, but Douglas, you can't shoot through a window, right? From your house. You can't shoot outside at somebody trespassing in your yard. At least to my knowledge, here where I live in North Carolina, it wouldn't be legal for me to shoot through somebody trespassing in my yard. Now in Utah, where I've lived in the past, if somebody was outside my door trying to get in and had a weapon, I could shoot them through the glass. I could pop them for sure. They didn't need to get the door open even. If they're just attempting entry, and I see they have a weapon, I can kill them legally at that point. But there are exceptions to different things, and I think the police officers have been given authority, and I think it even would hold up in court that them entering that backyard was okay. That's my personal opinion on that one. Jury got it wrong with Kim Potter. It was lowered. Well, let me read further on this one. I remember this case, but it's just vaguely. There were mitigating factors. Potter mistook her handgun for her taser. Okay, yeah, this one. When she says taser, 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 pow. Yeah, that was a tough one. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was not good. Okay, so that one's a little bit different. It's not going to end up quite like that, I don't think. The situation was different. Barron says you can get arrested for just showing your gun to another person in New York. It's called brandishing a gun. Yeah, and that I don't like that. I think there has to be some sort of behavior that's threatening as well. I don't think just because basically that means anytime somebody sees a gun, it means the other person was brandishing it. And so, yeah, showing has to have some sort of threat to it. I've got a tickle coming on, and I don't want to end up in a sneeze, but just in case, there we go. We'll go here. With Kim Potter, she had her gun in her hand, but she thought she had a taser. Another case, Melody, yeah, that was, I forgot the name on that one, but yeah, that stuck with me. Yelled taser, then used her gun. That moment, can you imagine? I mean, I know a lot of you say, I would never be a police officer or something like that, but can you imagine being there and the thought process that's going through her head as she's yelling taser, and then the recoil, the bang, the like, why was that loud type thing? Why is he bleeding? Why did my gun, recoil the way it did? Why did the taser recoil like that? That was, and I think she said something bad afterwards. She's like, I shot him or something. She did not shoot. You're talking about Atatiana. No, she didn't. But maybe some of our Texas legal representation who's here in chat can tell us. In the closing, defense said at least twice that in Texas it's against the law to point a firearm at a uniformed officer. Is that the truth? They said it's always against the law to point a firearm at a uniformed officer. I was looking under Texas law. I didn't find it yet. Obviously, pointing a firearm could be considered an assault, right? Just like we saw with the Border Patrol trial. Where the other Erica was assaulted. Did the neighbor who made the non-emergency call the state that led to the police officer that he thought it was a burglary? Yes, Michelle. The neighbor across the street called the non-emergency line, but that goes to a dispatch center where calls come in and the same person, the same desk, might receive a non-emergency or an emergency call. So for all intents and purposes, it came in differently, but it was a non-emergency call. At that point, it was coded by that individual who took the call as open structure, which then the officers then think, well, open structure, our general orders say we have to treat that like a possible burglary in progress. So that's how that chain of events started. Douglas says, you can point a weapon on your property to discourage an intruder. Okay. So yeah, we'll have to look at the individual law on that. If that's the case, then she wouldn't have done anything wrong unless it's against the law to point a weapon at a uniformed police officer. And depending on which testimony from Zion you believe, they could tell, or he could tell at least, that he was a police officer. He even said thought he saw the badge on the shirt. You can get arrested for not concealing property. I hate that one, Baron. I hate that one. I hate the fact that if you some states where if you're riding your bike and you're carrying concealed on like a waistband or something, and the wind blows your shirt up and exposes the handle of your gun, suddenly you're a criminal. New York has some tough laws on Second Amendment. I'll say that. The judge noticed a clerical error and temporarily suspended her decision over whether Scott Peterson would be granted a new trial. Did that just happen today? Scott Peterson's the one who killed his wife and dumped her in the ocean, right? Are we thinking of the same one? He was like the salesperson, California, right? He like took a little rowboat out and cinder block the whole 9 yards, if I remember right. All right. Logan J says, are you a recovering addict? I've got 1.5 years free from opioids. Logan, congratulations. That is awesome. I'm super proud of you and behind you 100%. I would say, yes, I'm a recovering addict, but not in the way you think. I was at one point addicted to gaming, computer gaming. It literally was taking over my life. And I'm not joking there. The amount of time I was spending taking me away from work and family responsibilities, everything. It was rough. It was rough. But as far as the addict and the term we normally feel, no, I'm not. I'm not an addict there. I chose this name, recovery addict, because I'm addicted to recovering artifacts from the ground. I'm a metal detectorist. I love history. I love going out and discovering history and recovering it from being lost to time. That's why I chose the name. It's sort of a play on words. I didn't realize honestly that I would suddenly show up in searches that have TED Talks and all other sorts of addiction recovery type topics with it. So I'm not trying to slight that community at all, but I love the name and I'm addicted to it, and I 100% support recovery, addiction recovery. I'm all the way behind that, and will cheer you 100% of the way. So that's where the name comes from. Let's see. Matthew Harris says, it's a crime to knowingly point a gun at an officer because you can use force, but not deadly force. But they hadn't established her knowledge. And we'll never know, really, her knowledge, right? The one part they pointed out that I don't think they adequately spent time on during the trial, and maybe they might have been a witness that I didn't listen to completely. But the fact that there was an unspent cartridge from her gun on the floor, I think that's telling to show the timing of the issue, because when the state describes what's happening, they almost point it out to say, like, he shot her as she was reaching for her gun type thing. She was hunched over, leaning down to get her gun, and as she's getting up, she gets shot, and the gun's still down type thing. That's sort of the picture they sort of painted for me. But with the fact that there was an unspent cartridge on the ground, we then know that her gun was fully loaded and that she cycled the action one time to make sure it was loaded. That action causes the bullet that's in the chamber, the cartridge in the chamber, to get expelled from the gun and drop to the ground at her feet where they found it. So she had her gun and cycled it. Then to me, she would then have to put the gun down again. And that was harder for me to accept, that you cycled it and it's ready, and now I'm going to set it back down as I look out the window. That doesn't fit for me. Sonny says, Recovery Addict is now showing up on the top of my YouTube feed when I open my laptop. Must be doing something right. Wonderful. The algorithm is working for you, Sonny. It makes it easy for you to find us. And it looks like a few other people have as well. Welcome if you're new here. Please go ahead and drop your name in chat. Let us know what your opinions are. MB says, are you still able to play games at all? Yes, I am, MB. I do strictly regulate that. I do have a TikTok account under this same name that I play games on occasionally. I do it just so I keep my... I have representation on TikTok. I have a management company because one of my videos went viral, and 16 million views later, they're like, please, can we represent you? And I said, yes. And but as one of the rules for that, in return for getting access to a streaming key on TikTok, which most people don't get, I have to stream a certain number of hours every month. And so I stream just enough to keep that access, but that's it. Okay, I think that answered all the questions. She wrecked the slide and ejected around. Right, that's what we were talking about there, Baron. Sub7 says, glad I found you. I'm glad you found me as well. This is a fun group. I will say that the people in chat make this worthwhile. If you come and stay for any reason, please let it be them. They're amazing. I know we do have some people that have some strong opinions that differ one way or another. I will say that I want to hear them. That if you have an opinion that differs from mine, I'd like to hear it. Let's just have the discussion in a civil manner. Sort of keep the personal attacks and insults out. Obviously, we're not going to allow any racism or stuff that's highly inappropriate. But occasionally, some sailor words creep in, and that's okay. I try not to say them, but really, I hope this is a place where you can come. We want it to be different than some of the toxic environments on the internet that you might find at other places. I'm not calling out lawn crime specifically, but I am. Hey, Mrs. R.A., how are you doing? She's just here for moral support, not to provide any analysis at this time. Yeah, my wife has not followed this trial, so she's not comfortable with dropping her opinion on it right now. Douglas says, recovery addict, trespass / lack of intent, exigent circumstances, failure to announce a gun, failure to follow protocols. I can't see how he's not guilty. Well, he's not charged with any of the protocol stuff, and failure to announce. It's not a requirement for him to announce. Lack of exigent circumstance. That would be the exception to the search. That would be the Fourth Amendment. And I've raised this a little bit. I think trespass and lack of exigent circumstances falls in the same category. He trespassed because he was performing his duties in what is required under his protocols. So you can't say failure to follow protocols when at the same time he was following protocols. I think there was a misconnect there. Yeah.
Didn't those cops who came to check on us and did a well visit, didn't they trespass on our yard?
No.
And check our back?
No. Okay. Let's see. There are great people here. You guys are amazing. I appreciate you. Abby says, hi, lovely peoples. Welcome to this amazing channel. Please hit the like button. That would be great for me. I appreciate you, Abby. Thank you so much. And she says, hi, Mrs. R.A. Mrs. R.A. has her own YouTube channel that deals with homeschooling and teaching kids. And she does a fantastic job over there. Charlie says, recovery addict, if both Dean and his paid witness said they would have done what Atatiana did, isn't it kind of settled that she didn't do anything wrong? Charlie, I agree. I believe that, but I believe both of them didn't do anything wrong up until the time the trigger was pulled. And then the person who pulled the trigger was in the wrong. But I'm not sure if it's wrong enough for a conviction. I mean, it was a mistake, but it might be legally protected mistake. Does that make sense? Gene says, recovery addict, I'm a brand new subscriber and I'm seeing my true crime friends here. It's great. Gene, welcome. Bring your other friends as well. We'll convert them all, and they're all welcome here. Maybe next time. Yeah, we'll try to keep her updated on the next case. Do I have an email or a P.O. box? I have an email, but if you go to my YouTube channel, the About section, I believe you can click the contact button. It will show you the email. I believe it's MD Recovery Addict. So that stands for Metal Detecting Recovery Addict at gmail.com. Hopefully that's my email. Otherwise, someone else is about to get some spam. I don't have a P.O. box yet. I'm thinking about getting one, though. That is the Addict's Wife channel. She is fantastic. She goes by Homeschool Ground Zero over there. Thank you, Abby, for the email. It's always best to trust her link than mine because my memory is a little bit foggy. Georgia Carver says, the female officer at Dean's back saw her huge eyes, but that was after she was shot. Yeah, I believe that's probably correct. She probably saw it almost in the muzzle flash. So when she says that's burned in her mind, literally it could have been the reflective flash of the muzzle that the flash that seared that image in her mind. Christian Hefner, I'm still not convinced a single loose bullet proves a weapon was cycled. Having loose ammo near your home defense weapon is stupid but not uncommon. Yeah, I can see that. I can see what you're saying, and we don't have testimony from Zion, who was inside, that she did that. One interesting thing about this, Christian, and this is sort of unrelated to what you're saying, but at the same time, it made me think of it. We heard on the last day of the testimony, the evidentiary section of the trial, we heard the defense come and say, we'd like to admit another item of evidence. And that item of evidence was actually the rest of that video interview with Zion that was done in that little tiny closet by the woman at the Children's Center. They wanted the rest of that. Well, the rest of that testimony included questions that brought about Zion telling about another experience where Atatiana was, I believe, in a traffic altercation of some sort. I'm not sure if it was a crash or something like that, but I believe it wasn't another officer. It was civilians, but there was a traffic altercation where she retrieved her firearm from her purse and drew it and held it in a similar manner, according to Zion, as what he testified to in this one. I'm not sure if that information impacts you at all on what you think happened here, because the judge ruled it wasn't admissible for this trial. And I think that's fair because the defense and the prosecution made a deal early on in the trial to not include it. The defense said instead of impeaching, or the prosecution said instead of impeaching Zion on the stand with his prior testimony, we'll just agree to let you just play this video, and we'll just allow that to be admitted. And so they said in return for that, we don't want that second part of this video played. And the defense at that time said, okay. And then they went back on their word at the end. Kolivar, welcome. Cop is not guilty. Prosecution failed to prove his guilt. All the fluff around bad policing doesn't matter. It's great for misleading people, though. Strong opinion. Let me ask you this, Kolivar. For you, does it come down to whether or not she had the gun pointed at him? Is that the deciding factor for you? Because I think if you can get past all of the accusations of him, having been how do I say this? If he behaved in a manner that wasn't the best, like he gave himself a B grade about how he handled the house and things like that, if that isn't an issue for you, and it's like, yeah, he could have done better, but it's not a crime type thing, doesn't it just come down to whether or not she pointed a gun at him? And then I can see that if she did in your mind, then that would definitely be the stance that would be appropriate, that he's not guilty. When I first came in here, when I thought RA was the other RA for a second, I have two RAs. There's Mini Me and the Big Me. Matthew Harris's channel has been growing. Matthew, we are super excited about your channel. I hope it outgrows mine. You definitely deserve it. Putting in a ton of work. If you ever want to watch a legal channel with a lawyer from Texas who has a great accent, who wants to teach you about some of the funny and lesser known things about the law, as well as some things that just might save you a lot of money or a trip to the big house, please go give his channel a follow. Abby's posted his link up there. You'll have to scroll up a little bit. You can't click it when it's on the screen, unfortunately. Tony tries. Welcome. Haven't seen your name before, so welcome. If he's found guilty based on her being lawful, will he be able to appeal with the information from toxicology that was read into the record without the jury about meth in her system? No, I don't think so. Because an appeal is going to be based on whether a procedural error was committed during the trial. So that's going to be something like the judge didn't allow a witness to testify that should have been allowed to testify, or basically it's the judge made a mistake, right? Also, I mean, there could be others. You can appeal for inadequate defense or things like that. But basically, there's going to have to be an error somewhere that's not evidence based for an appeal, I believe. The dude's clue's true, but why do you think she didn't fire? She had the drop on them. I don't know why she didn't fire. I hope that if I'm in her situation, I wouldn't fire either, because I don't think I'd have legal grounds to fire, from my understanding. Okay, so I'm falling behind on chat, and I apologize. I'm going to speed up a little bit. I'm just going to read the ones that have my name on it right now, and sorry for that. If you have something important you'd like me to address, please just tag me in it and type it again. I will not get mad if you spam the chat, as long as it's not constant. He does have metal detection. Oh, that's what I do. Yes, sorry, I was referring to Richard Allen. That's all cool. Bite Me says the judge let them go back on their word. No, the judge didn't. The judge ruled against the defense on that one and did not allow that other testimony to come in. How long has the jury been deliberating? I've been gone for 2 days. It seems like they've been gone for 2 days, but really they left at 12:15 p.m. Eastern time, and we're now at basically 3:15. So we've got just a couple hours. 3 hours, and one of those is lunch, too. So Culver says, only 4 things matter. Cop was there legally. Cop saw a silhouette. Silhouette did have a weapon. Silhouette raised gun on cop. Folks may not like it, but it is legal. That's basically the defense in a nutshell. Really what you're saying there is exactly what the defense was saying. You know, it's tragic. It's sad. You know, we wish it didn't happen. But from a legal standpoint, he's covered. Culver says, yes, I don't believe the interview from on the stand. Yeah, what do you think about that? If you watched Zion's testimony, what do you think about the potential, first of all, the potential coaching of the witness, where the female was called up from the gallery, and the judge says, hey, I've been noticed you've been making, gestures to the witness throughout the questioning, and that's not allowed, so I'm going to swear you in as a witness, which means you can't be here under the rule, and you've got to sit out and watch from out there. Do you think that, I would have thought that would have been grounds for a mistrial. I mean, that's just me, but I'm like, wow, that seemed to be over the top. And then not just that, you've also got the Lee Merritt, the family's attorney, who's been watching the trial from the other courtroom, who the defense basically in a, either, I'm not sure if it was a hot mic moment or if it was a sidebar that we got to participate in audibly, basically accused him of coaching Zion, of being the influence on Zion as to why he changed his testimony. Even changed it to the point that the prosecution said, hey, we didn't know he was going to say that. That's not what he told us before. So that's just crazy. Okay, Kulvar, coaching definitely happened. That was my impression anyway. What's the outcome there? Do you think after this trial's over, is somebody going to get slapped for that, from a legal standpoint? Culver says, by the way, congrats on going from 900 subs to 3.5K, bud. You were really under-subbed for great content. By the way, I just cleared 19,000 subs. That is awesome, Culver. Congratulations. That's really cool. We have a nice little channel that's growing slowly, but it is growing. And I'm sort of glad it's growing slowly because I'm new at this, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I've learned I've got a very patient group of subscribers that are helping me along the way and giving me tips and advice. So thank you very much, and congratulations to yourself. That is amazing. Matthew Harris keeps us updated on his work. He says, I'm writing an appeal right now because the judge got both the evidence and the law wrong. When we go to argue it in court appeals, it will definitely be aired on YouTube for recovery addicts. Hopefully we'll have an exclusive, right, Matthew? Can you argue for the judge to grant us exclusive rights to your trial? Tony Tries says, recovery addict, even if she had a prescription for methamphetamine, ADHD, it is a scheduled drug which would make it illegal to use a weapon while under the influence. Right, but in this situation, basically you're saying that when you are taking your medication, you're not allowed to defend yourself, right? Because that's the argument the other side will bring up if that's brought up. And shouldn't someone always have the ability to defend themselves, even if they have a medical condition that requires treatment, or as soon as she's prescribed that drug, should she have to surrender her firearms and basically say, I'm legally not able to possess these right now? Recovery addict, there's no evidence of her aiming at him. There is, however, body cams showing him finding the gun by her dying body and saying weapon here as if he just noticed it. Charlie, I agree. We did go back. We had a couple of I think one of our subscribers here, I don't want to throw someone under the bus by naming the wrong one, but someone went back and watched the frame by frame of the body cam footage right at that moment of the shooting. And there are 3 frames where I will say this: there's a green blur on the window, a distinctive green blur on the window, which, from my experience with lasers, and I do play with lasers a lot, even green burning lasers, for my science background, it's consistent with a laser passing through glass. It's very quick, and I'm not sure if it's fast enough. I mean, it's so fast. When you think of 3 frames, there are 30 frames in a second of this video, right? That the frame rate that the camera captured it at. So it's a 1/10 of a second of time that was visible. If it was, But anyway, that's just neither here nor there. It wasn't proven. It wasn't brought up in court, even though the defense said we'd see it, that we'd hear that. They didn't go that route, which I think if they had proved, that would be a deciding factor, because then you've got the gun pointed at him, and that changes everything on many cases. The coaching was for the civil matter that will follow, in my opinion. There will be a civil matter, and I believe the family will win. There's no question in that. Let's see. So the cop shouldn't respond to a call he was dispatched to. MB, yeah, you're bringing that up. The cop, Dean, made the worst comment of his whole testifying experience, sort of in the response to that question. When on cross, he was saying, wasn't there anything you could do? Anything different? And he said, well, I could have stayed home that day. It's like, don't go there. She stayed home and she died. And now you're joking about, well, I could have stayed home and not died. And prosecution jumped on that at the moment. They jumped on that in their closing as well. And it just looked so bad on him. It was so bad. Patty says, you're doing great and your mods are awesome. They are. We have some of the best mods. And if any of the mods get tired of being a mod, let me know. I don't want you to think that you have to work here day in and day out. If you want a break, we can arrange that for sure. Zion is now 11 years old, was 8 years old at the time. Zion is a young boy, and perhaps he saw things differently after 3 years. My opinion, recovery addict. Michelle, I think some coaching happened, but at the same time, I think what might have happened as well is that for 3 years, he heard the people that he knows and loves and trusts recount their belief of what happened in this situation. And as a young, impressionable youth, suddenly, what you hear sort of becomes a reality. You're like, yeah, this is what happened. And if the family had said every time they talk about this, she was killed, she didn't even have her gun up, over and over in his head, he might get to that point. But I think some coaching might have been there as well. Stony Bulldog says Castle Law should give her right because no ID of being police. He was in the wrong from the start. Thank you, Stony. I appreciate you being here. That was me who sent the potential laser pics, and there's actually more frames than just the 3 it can be seen in. I just sent 3. Okay, so MB, for you, is that enough proof for you? Knowing how the laser works, knowing that it's physically attached to the gun, and that it's aimed, if not exactly, it's aimed very close to the point that the projectile would hit if the gun was fired at any given moment. Does that do it for you? Does that tell you that yes, the gun was pointed at the officer? Perhaps the cop placed the gun. I don't think so. We've got Zion's testimony on the inside about her having it in the purse. Also, it wasn't accepted into testimony, but we've heard that she carried a gun in her purse and drawn it on a previous occasion that he witnessed as well. It was a Walther, I believe. I'm not sure what the model, but it was a Walther firearm, which Walther makes some smaller frame guns, which are a little better for concealed carry or for people with smaller hands. I wouldn't say, women. It's not a woman's gun type thing, because I believe James Bond carried a Walther, right? In the movies. Culver says, that really locked it in for me. Was the defense expert with the mustache and the glasses. The prosecution just went in circles and sounded foolish. So Culver, you weren't swayed by the emotion and the loudness of the presentation of the prosecution, which I think took away from the case a little bit for me. I wanted a little more facts, a little more, this is cut and dried, this is why type thing. And the second one had that, but it also had so much drama that I think it drew away from it. Okay. The laser isn't an evidence for a reason, says Recovery Addict, says Charlie. Yeah, and it isn't evidence. The opening statement and the closing statement, where it was mentioned by the prosecution and the lack of it being in evidence, it remains not in evidence. The only time we saw, I guess technically it is in evidence, but only in the fact that it works with a new battery, and that we are told, and I guess you can see on the body cam video, that at some point when the gun was dropped to when it was picked up, the laser was turned on. And he says, yes, I think the weapon was pointed at him, but just not what I saw, but also his testimony. So you believe his recounting of the experience. I will say that Aaron Dean came across as truthful, and for me, in many ways, partially because he was so willing to admit that he had done other things wrong. He wasn't up there saying I did everything by the book. This is a textbook situation, no fault on my side. He's up there saying, yeah, I screwed up. I should have done that better. He gave himself a B, right? Which is not bad. I mean, C's get degrees, right? But it's not good. It's not the best, especially when you're dealing with somebody's life and somebody died as a result. The emoting came across as desperate to me. When people don't have any facts, they usually try emotional manipulation. The prosecutor gave it all he had, though. They did a good job. I will say that both the prosecution and defense did really great on their opening and closing arguments. I was disappointed in the defense in not stepping up and objecting to the questioning of Dean and potentially even one of their expert witnesses. It seemed to me that they sort of slept on the job there. Still nothing from the live feed, so we're still waiting for news. I'm just going to check the Twitter just to see if anybody's talking about it, and maybe we have some idea of when this is going to come out with a verdict. And not seeing it yet. Okay. Nothing yet. Okay. I can't understand why his attorney didn't present the laser stuff. MB, I don't know. I wonder what the thought was. Is it because it seems to me that the laser would have been easier to prove than having that camera expert trying to describe that blur you see as a gun in her hand. And this is actually this part of her body. This is her hand. It's like it would be like me trying to read an ultrasound. Okay, it's like I have no idea what I'm looking at. Okay, But here's his expert who's looking at this blurry video that's bright reflection and quick movement of blurs, and he's saying that's the hand, that's the gun type thing. That's harder for me to accept than when I see that green laser light that's the exact same color as the light that the defense showed as he reflected it on his hand next to the stand when he put that battery and turned that laser light on and reflected it. It's like, yeah, that's the same color. I can see that. I can see that. I can see that on the screen. That to me would have been a stronger argument. Bullets begin being pulled down by gravity as soon as they leave the barrel. Are laser sights aimed at a particular distance? Yes, they are. KQD. The gun, the Walther that had the laser sight that was owned by Atatiana. It has screws on two axes. So basically, you've got the cylinder of the laser that's attached underneath the barrel. So it sits at the bottom on a little slide, and then on one side and on the bottom, it has two little threaded screws, and you can tighten those or loosen them, and it will adjust the X and Y axes of where the laser points. So you basically you lock the gun into a vise for sighting purposes. You lock it into a vise and fire a round. And then aim the laser at that round, and then you lock it down again and fire again, and make sure that the two coincide. But you want to have that set up for the range that you would be firing in, because if you set it for 100 yards, obviously the bullet's going to drop over 100 yards, and your laser is going to be low of any target that's closer than that, because you're aiming higher and it's dropping. Sumo Orange, welcome. Love the name. Says, Recovery Addict, do you wonder if Dean's lawyer told him to act like he did things wrong so he wouldn't come across cocky and a big shot cop? Very likely. He was very likely, I wouldn't say coached as to what to say, but how to behave. And because it did seem like several times he was frustrated, like he was like, I don't want to do this type thing. And then he would say, yeah, I did it wrong. That was poor police work. So that's very likely. That's a good observation, Sumo. Hang on, Mrs. R.A. has a question.
Okay, so you guys may have already gone over this, but when they have like murder, you're being charged with murder, and then it includes these other things, does that mean if we don't have enough evidence for this, then you automatically can get the next question?
She's asking about the lesser includeds of murder being the highest charge, and if he's found guilty of that. and you don't have the evidence to get for murder, do you automatically get the next one down? And basically, yes, if it doesn't meet the standards for murder, meaning it doesn't meet all the elements of that charge that, and the judge read them off during the jury instruction, then you would go down to the next one down and see, well, does this action meet the elements of this charge? So that would be how it works. Douglas says, to me, this case is about the results of police policies that are in violation of the Constitution. His blatant ignorance of the Fourth Amendment is what caused this death, and it seems cultural. Okay, what's that? Douglas, you've nailed Mrs. R.A.'s opinion with your comment. You've nailed it. This is exactly what she thinks. I think a little bit differently, because I think what the police officer was doing, although the police should not be able to do it just on a whim, I think that in response to a call, they were acting appropriately. I don't think what they were doing was a search. Okay. I might have to get a mic for Mrs. R.A. What's your question?
Okay, so all of the police's powers come from us, right? Like all power derives from the people. So if that's the case, then would we have the right to do what he was doing?
Okay, so
We can't.
She's saying all the police's power is derived from the people, because the government gets its power from the people, the consent of the governed, right? And if they had the right to do that, does that mean we have the right to do that? Or if we don't have the right to do that, do they have the right? Because we can't give somebody a right we don't have. Is that what you're saying? Right. I don't know. I think this may seem like a stretch on the argument side, but I think this falls in a similar category as the protection an individual gets when they're doing first aid on somebody, when they're doing CPR. If you do CPR on somebody and you break their ribs, okay, you made a conscious decision to put your hands on their chest and push with enough force, knowing that it could injure them, because CPR is a dangerous activity, right? But somebody doing that is protected from that because their actions, because of the situation. Now that is an exigent circumstance, but I think that a similar thing applies here. I think that Fourth Amendment, I think this doesn't apply because it wasn't a search, and so it's not a protection. Property. I don't know. I'll have to think about this a little bit more. Douglas, you're bringing up good points, and the fact that Mrs. R.A. agrees with you makes me think about it even more. The screenshots I got were a picture of their video. That should have been inspected. Talking about the green laser light in the window. Culvar says, anytime you want to stream together, let me know. I'm a 40,000K channel, but I love this court stuff. We'll have to do that. I'm working with Matthew, our resident lawyer, to set that up first. I've never done a joint stream. I've had him on the phone. We've had Weather Watch on the phone. I can bring their voice in pretty easily, but bringing on the video at the same time is new for me. So we're trying to work on that this week, and that would be great. I would very much like to do that, Culvar. Chandra says, welcome to our newcomers. Thank you so much for joining us. It's good that you guys are here. We're excited for this verdict. We're actually hoping, at least I am, that we get an answer here soon, that in the next hour or so we get news that a verdict has been reached. Sumo says, Sumo Orange, recovery addict. Another thing, I can see manslaughter, but adding the facts is just a misfortunate accident. It would have been the same case had Mrs. Jefferson shot Dean. See manslaughter, but adding the facts is just a misfortunate accident. Yeah, if she had shot Dean, I'd have to look at the Texas law, because clearly you have somebody outside. I mean, you'd assume if she shot Dean, I'm guessing that she would say, I didn't know it was a police officer. Okay, so if she says I knew it was a police officer and fired, that would be a different story. But if she had shot first and said I didn't know it was a police officer, as far as the outcome, in my mind, if that had happened, she would have shot first, and then the officer wearing a bulletproof vest probably would have fired as well and survived that, and possibly Darch would have fired at her as well. But if she had been, it would have been the same case had Mrs. Dean shot Dean, or Miss Jefferson shot Dean. I got to think that through. let me think on that one, Sumo. Douglas says recovery addict exigent circumstances are clearly defined by case law. He did not have them. Thank Ms. Recovery Addict for sharing her husband with us. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. And those cinnamon rolls looked delicious. I would love to try them. She says they taste great. Do you see what she does to me? The prosecutor made it that no matter what Dean did, unless he got shot, was the wrong outcome. I'm not always a fan of cops, but there's no legal reason he should be in jail forever. He still did have the right to self-defense. I think going back to, it would be the same case for Miss Jefferson. They both had the right to self-defense, and they both were confronted with a surprise moment where the other person is pointing a gun at them. I think it was tragic that they got to that point, but I would say that both of them had the right to shoot, maybe. They were not searching a property. They were responding to a burglary or welfare call. A burglary, right? Or potential burglary, open structure, right? Shouldn't an officer stand on the street, glance, and call it good? We talked about this a little bit as well, MB, and my feeling on this, just from the ride-alongs I've done with police, from what I've heard in the years that I've been monitoring police calls on the radio for news and everything else, this isn't what happens. The scenario in the textbook where you show up and a door's open and you're like, stay at the street, call for backup. That's not how police works. There's a culture in the police force of, you might call it bravado, where an officer takes pride in being able to handle their own calls, in being able to distinguish, to not cry wolf, so to speak. And so you get a lot of officers who when they get on a call like that, you'll hear the dispatcher say, "Would you want me to send another unit?" And they're like, I'll advise. Meaning, we realize that this call is one that might need more people on it, based on what that was coded as. But do you want me to send more people? And they'll say, no, just hang tight. Let me check it out first. And that's very common. And I've heard that all over the country on police scanners. Colvar says, sounds good to me. I'm up for it anytime. I joined your Discord. It's not my Discord, but I am in there. Just that Discord is provided entirely by Toxic Orchid 71 and Little Miss, and I think they have some other helpers as well. They just are agreeing to share it with our audience, and they do a great job there. But Colvar, we'll definitely let me find your channel. Make sure I'm following you as well. Okay, I got you here. Your gateway drug to the Warhammer 4K. Okay, so I'm the recovery addict and you're the gateway drug. I think we have a problem, actually. So the two sound funny together. Awesome. Let me. I'll be in touch when we're not live streaming. So thank you very much for the offer. Matthew Harris says, recovery addict, and taking bets. What's the over-under on questions that the jury will send out? I'm betting 3 questions. We haven't heard anything yet. I haven't seen anything, which is surprising, because I thought they would have asked for something, which I love to look at what it is they ask for, and try to interpret. For example, take DB, right? In DB's case, the jury comes out and says, we'd like to see, I even forget the evidence, we'd like to see this piece of evidence. And they get it, and immediately, almost minutes later, they're like, now we'd like to see this piece of evidence. I'm like, now they're moving. They're moving quick, which means to me they were just confirming something with the last person who might have had a holdout type thing. Verdict Watch update. Still on Verdict Watch. I'm not seeing anything come in. Small update. The jury has asked the judge for Post-it notes and several pieces of evidence, including photos. This is from William Joy on Twitter 46 minutes ago, so this snuck in under the radar. Judge indicated that he'll let the jury keep working till midnight if they want to, or if they decide to stop, or till they decide to stop. That was courtesy of WFAA. William Joy is a WFAA reporter, so I can say that that's about as believable tweet as you can get on Twitter nowadays, from a verified reporter. WFAA has been following this live stream and streaming it on their channel as well. So 3 questions. The first one is, can we have Post-it notes? Now I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that room. Gene says, off topic, I like your channel name. May I ask, are you proudly in recovery too? Yes, but only from video game addiction. But I support wholeheartedly anyone's path to recovery. We have several members in chat here who are in recovery, and we cheer them on every day, one day at a time. It's amazing. I chose the name because I'm addicted to recovering artifacts from the ground. I'm a metal detectorist. I love history that way. I love the discovery. It's like dirt fishing for me. I chose the name without thinking about the implications it would have on the search in YouTube. And now when you search for me, you get a lot of TED Talks and my channel. Only one of them is where they had no legal right to be. Douglas, I hear you on that, and I've got to put some more thought into this, the Fourth Amendment issue, and it's not a small thing. I'm not saying that the Constitution is a small thing. Let's see. Mrs. R.A. just got a message about her YouTube channel from somebody. If anything is a stupid policy, if anything, it's a stupid policy problem. This is from Nobody's Alt But Mine, which is a great name. I love some of you guys with such creative names. It's amazing. Not announcing that their police is dangerous, but at the same time, I understand that they don't want to give the criminal a chance to attack. Right? Is it a training issue? Do you think that? I mean, if this goes as a not guilty, and then a settlement is made in a civil case, it will probably be a sizable settlement. Will that bring about a training change, a policy change?
What training change though?
What change? Would it be more on the side of you must, on this call, you must send multiple units, and the units have to stage before going in? Because then you have the other problem, right? And this also happened, I believe, out of Texas, where you have a school shooting where the officers were criticized for not going in soon enough. And that's the opposite extreme, right? It's a different story. I realize that. But there's a balance somewhere in between those two things where at what point do you want an officer to run in and potentially save someone's life or stop a crime before, tons of damage is done and tons of, financial loss for the victim. In case, instead, is more people on the scene going to be safer? Probably. You've got more eyes on it. You've got more communication back and forth. But it's also more cost, and the cost of policing is an issue nowadays. Bella says, so I put cinnamon and vanilla on simmer, not cutting it. I need a cinnamon roll. They are delicious. I'll have to get some. Do you have them all laid out so I can like get a video of it?
Oh, they're not pretty laid out.
They're not pretty yet. No, I think they are. Amy says, recovery addict. He was in the backyard at her house. I see this entire sad situation as just hectic. No communication. I don't like that the other officer's body cam went missing. Amy, I hear you there, but if you look back on that body cam issue, her camera went missing a week or two prior. And that's a problem. And it went missing. It was basically stolen from within the police station. But she put it right where she's supposed to put it, on the charger, basically, for her next shift. When she shows up, she's there to pick it up. She went up to pick it up, and it was not there. This wasn't like an issue where she says, yeah, I have body cam footage, but in all the hectic hustle of the crime scene, the camera went missing type thing. That for me, that would be really fishy. And I'd see that more of a problem. But it is a problem that her camera went missing. I think that those safety measures would be in place. She wouldn't be out on the street patrolling if her gun went missing. She wouldn't be like, oh, I don't have my gun today because, funny thing, it wasn't where I left it. So here I am anyway, right? I think we need to start looking at these items as just as important as the other tools on their belt. And she wouldn't be out there without handcuffs. She wouldn't be out there without her radio. But she's not the one on trial here. Chandra says, Matthew Harris, wouldn't the jury have to believe he shot intending to kill a resident to find it murder? Yes, I think they have to believe he intentionally shot, knowing that it could cause injury or death. So I think that's one of the elements of that charge. The fact that the little boy in the first interview said he saw a cop, right? So that's an issue, Debbie. But then at the same time, put yourself in Zion's situation, okay? Because you have him sitting on the bed. Obviously, did you see Atatiana says, did you hear that? Something like that. Alerts him to the fact that there might be something outside. He's like, what? Hear what? Type thing. And he's watching what's going on, so his awareness is raised. But then he has the advantage of being able to keep looking out the window after the shot was fired. So he has he now gets the view of her at the window and then her not at the window, and Officer Dean's still there. So in his head, is it possible that what he saw out the window, saying he saw an officer and he thought he saw a badge, as the officer was partially illuminated by the reflected light from his own flashlight in his hand and in his gun, is it possible that he put those two things together and said she pointed the gun at the officer out the window, when really he didn't know it was an officer out the window until after she had been shot? Is that a possibility? And he didn't know there was another lady cop until the lady cop came in and said, "It's okay, you're not going to jail, come with me," and took him outside. Being as a kid, he's a kid. It's hard to understand. Let's see. Okay, that's MB says that's not what I meant. Sorry, that's not what I meant. What I was trying to say was, how can an officer evaluate the situation if he doesn't access the property? Okay, I do apologize, MB. As you know, I speak sometimes without thinking, and I'm sorry I took that the wrong way. So how can an officer evaluate the situation if he doesn't access the property? I agree. He can't completely examine the building for signs of entry unless he examines the building. And the officer doesn't know if there's another main door out the back that he's also supposed to secure according to policy, without checking the back. Hit like and subscribe. Almost 300 live. 300 people here? Woohoo! Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. We expect, hopefully, anytime to hear something from the jury. We know they've already got Post-it notes, and they're hard at work making some sort of artistic representation of what they think about the case on the walls of the jury room. Let's see. Not a great scheduling idea. I think, Patty, you're talking about the fact that we had two rookies together, right? And if you listen carefully on the expert testimony, I think it was the state's witness on the expert testimony about that. They said, was it wrong for, is it a crime to put two rookies together on the same shift? And he's like, possibly. It's not that it is actually a crime, but that it's that bad of an idea to have completely two, very rookie officers be out there together without somebody who's like, hey, this is actually, there's a different way to do this. My experience tells us that it may not be what you think it is. Charlie, Mac, well, I hope you never fall asleep with your door open. Apparently that's enough for you to get done in by a heroic officer. I hear you, Charlie. I appreciate you sticking by your opinion. You've been a stalwart on that, and to your credit, a lot of us have changed our stance as time has gone on. Okay, I'm falling behind on chat, so I'm going to skip down just to the people who have tagged me in the message. Toxic's the next one. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications of when a Recovery Addict goes live, and share the stream on your social media. If that isn't a list of instructions, I don't know what is. I would appreciate any of that if you feel that the channel deserves it. Thank you so much. Ashley says, Recovery Addict, did the Yon hearing get postponed? Ashley, we don't know. The Yon hearing disappeared is what happened. Bradley Yon, let me just make sure, was supposed to be in trial covered by Law and Crime. We had a placeholder from them saying that there was going to be live stream from them, and then when 2 o'clock hit, when the case was supposed to begin, when the trial was supposed to begin, they deleted it, and it was gone. No one else has a live stream. We're not seeing any news media that's carrying anything from that courtroom, which is a little bizarre. So I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see, maybe in the filings on that case, to see what happened. It was just taken down. We don't know why. Dirt fishing sounds way less fancy than metal detection. Yes, it's the redneck way of talking about it. But if you like fishing, and if you have the patience to sit there and just keep doing the same thing over and over and hope that something happens on the other end, that's pretty much metal detecting. I will say that I do find a lot of rings metal detecting. Usually I found one about every 2 hours, which is a lot for me. I do a lot of beach detecting, but that's good. I did give away, I think, 14, 15 rings, something like that. And Debbie, actually, right here, this Debbie was the winner of those rings in the channel. So we sent them all to her. I think she sent one to someone else. Somebody got the spinner ring, Roxanne or somebody. I'm trying to remember. The name escapes me for some reason. but did give away some gold and silver and tungsten carbide rings that I'd found. Yon trial, the victim died, so the trial was delayed. I know the victim died, but I think this wasn't the. I don't think that was the delay. Are you saying that just recently happened? Because I'd heard she died before, and this was still scheduled to move on. Not sure. I don't think her death was linked directly to him. Maybe it can be, and the charges will be upgraded because he's not facing murder charges in that particular case that I know of. Bring policy back within the confines of the Constitution is the change. I think for the most part, policy maybe is very close to that. I don't think that's a huge change, is what I'm saying. Maybe in some instances it is. This was said in chat. Sunny on trial. Victim died, so trial was delayed. I saw that. We knew she passed away. The elderly woman that he had attacked and kidnapped and assaulted had passed away. But I thought that happened a while ago, and that it wasn't the reason for delay. Wouldn't it be that exigency was lacking here, a known crime in progress? Yeah, so the question is, them investigating if there is a crime is not the same as them knowing there's a crime. So if they knew there was a crime, there would be no problem with them going to the backyard. That's what you're saying? Oh, yeah, the body cam went missing, I think, 2 weeks before the incident. And they don't have the funds just to give out more body cams. It's important to remember that the police do not have the duty to do anything. Cops feel they do, so does everybody else. But legally speaking, he could have just walked away. Is there a negligence there? Because I think the whole idea is they're there to protect and to serve. And when you think protect, you think that they're there to guard, which means, put yourself between danger and me type thing. I always like it when Matthew Harris says I stated it correctly, whatever it's about. I generally, I'm close, but when he says I stated it correctly, that's wonderful. Abby says, this is what was said in chat. The victim was trial was delayed. I'll have to look at that. If I'm hearing it from a lot of people, it might have been the same person who's posted that, but that might be the reason. And if that is, that'll be interesting. Because if that just recently happened, if she just passed away and that's why the trial's delayed, it's possible the charges might be upgraded if they can link it to the assault or the attack. That's what happened in Daryl Brooks' case with the youngest victim who died at the hospital sometime after, and that charge was upgraded. The only times the cops have a duty to protect is if you're in custody, strangely enough. I'll have to look at that one, Kolovar. I'll have to look at that. Let me think on that one. Ed says, recovery addict, I just can't see murder. Homicide, yes. Or I think you're saying a manslaughter, yes. And sue the sheriff's office for a terrible response. But I think a cop is in a unique place in situations like this. It is a bad situation. And I think other cops can easily be in this situation. And maybe even so without having the backyard scenario. I mean, what if this was a front yard, right? Does that change anything if it was a front yard window and they're going around, they're looking in, checking the what's visible on the front side? They're still trespassing, right? They're still on the property. There's no signs that say do not trespass or things like that. Does that change that in anyone's mind if it had been a front yard window?
So what if you take the police out of it and say this is just a guy who did that? How would that scenario play?
Mrs. R.A. says, what if you take the police out of it and it was just a regular civilian who did that? What would the situation be like if it wasn't Officer Arendine, it was just neighbor Arendine who just showed up or maybe heard that something was happening and another neighbor said something's weird over there, go check it out. What would happen then? Gene says, recovery addict, I woke up one night on my sofa to Kansas City police officers pointing a gun at me because my car was being stolen. And they thought you were stealing it? That seems strange. I would aim at the person who was stealing the car, just if that was me. Recovery addict, if I had to say one thing that I feel positive about is that two rookie cops shouldn't have been working together or alone. I think that was shared a couple times, and even in trial, that was brought up. Maybe that's one of the policy changes that the department might make. The Silly Ready says, I got my mug yesterday. It's beautifully big. It is. It's like 15 ounces. For those that don't know, we have one item of merch on this channel, and it's a mug that says True Crime Addict on one side. The other side, it has a little saying from the DB case where it says, Objection, overruled grounds on the back, and you can get it in 5 beautiful colors. But thank you so much, Silly Writer. I'm glad you got it before Christmas. Can enjoy it during this holiday season. Charlie says, it's accepted practice that police put their own safety above the safety of the public. Again, just heroes. Chase, welcome, says Castle Rock v. Gonzalez lays out that police duty is to protect the public at large and do not have a duty to protect individuals. So there's the precedent for that for that position. Mrs. R.A. doesn't like that. I'll say that. Ashley says, recovery addict, yawn crimes were November 9th, 2021. The lady died December 12th. That's close. That's really close. I mean, unless she died of something unrelated, like, a car accident or something, I would be looking at that and saying, are they connected somewhere? This is a polite chat. No disparaging or inflammatory remarks. We value your viewpoints. Please state them respectfully. Yeah, do it. This is a fun place. I'm not saying you have to agree with everybody. I love, for instance, that Charlie is here, and Charlie and I don't agree on everything, but Charlie is. Mrs. R.A. agrees with Charlie. And I like that Mrs. R.A. is here too. I'll say that. I love that you're here. We want this discussion, and we can do it the way that Charlie does without attacks. Douglas says, curtilage is implied consent. Backyard secured is not. Can you take the cop out of the scenario? He was doing his job. You can't take the cop out of a scenario because he was doing his job. Right, but I was doing just a hypothetical, MB. What would happen if it was the neighbor who had gone over? See, the neighbor across the street who was just concerned about his neighbor and checks it, and he's like, if it could be something wrong, so I'm going to take my gun. Yeah, legal, fair to do. Trespass, yeah, maybe he's friends with the neighbor, and it's like they're fine with me being in their yard. I'm there all the time. I don't know. I think it's an interesting hypothetical. James says, recovery addict, the understaffing of the police and or the defunding of the police may have played a role in 2 rookies working the same beat. It's possible. We know that the funding has been brought up. I don't know if the particular department has seen a decrease in funding in the movement to defund the police, but definitely that played a role in at least her body cam not being there and not having a replacement. I agree with your wife, even when she disagrees with me. You like living on the edge, not knowing she is always right by now. She finds that very humorous. Debbie says, hello, by the way. I do have a smart wife, Charlie. She's amazing. And I did catch up in chat, just like that. I've skipped all of your comments to catch up, and we're still waiting for the verdict watch here. MB says, it's not the neighbor's job. That's why the neighbor called the cops to do their job. There was a potential threat there. Well, Mrs. R.A. is saying basically the cops get the power from the people, right? The government gets its power from the people. We, the people, consent to be governed by the government. We grant the government our power. So the cops doing their job is doing a job. It's basically they have a power that we've granted them. So shouldn't we also have the same power? I think is the way she's viewing that. I'm not sure if we have a jet going overhead or our kids are riding their wiggle carts on our deck, but it sounds the same. Charlie says Fort Worth was not being defunded, especially in 2019. The budget being decided is in 2018. Maybe a shortage of officers, not funding. That's how it is in our town, says Adam. Good information. Lux Lobos says, I have a feeling the neighbor would have announced himself and would probably recognize Atatiana. Very much so. I think you're right. That's a good take on that. The threat wasn't existent until Aaron Dean showed up. You've got a point there. I mean, there would not have been a shooting had he not been there, right? MB says, we do have the same power. We do not have the same protection. Okay. Christian Hefner in chat says, recovery addicts, so how long, you all say this in chat, I'm not sure why I said that. So how long into deliberations until we start worrying about a hung jury? I have no frame of reference, but I'm fairly lost on this case, and I'd imagine some jurors are too. The case has been, we've had like 6 days of testimony, right? So it's a fairly quick case as far as murder trials go. We've seen much longer ones. But I'm not worried about the jury right now being hung, especially the fact that they're getting Post-it notes. Maybe they're going through and checking things off, and whoever they elected as their leader clearly uses Post-it notes for organization, and that's not a bad thing. But it lets them, mark where they are, mark their ground and their decisions, and also be able to visualize, where they are as well. So I think that's a good sign they're making progress. Without Post-it notes, if they just said, we're going to need a change of clothes because we're being sequestered and send us other stuff, that would be more of an issue for me. With so many varied opinions, I'm sure the regular jury is much like the RA internet jury. I would expect this to go for a while or hang. You said the jet was going over my house. So maybe it's the same jet, Debbie. Maybe it's the same jet. I know you're a few states away from me, but it could happen. Grumpy Cat, good to see you here. I didn't see you here before. Can you tell me the poll results, please? Yeah, the poll results that we took when the jury first left. So this is fresh in the minds of all our court of public opinion jurors here. We asked the question, what verdict do you think the jury will return? Not what would you say, but what verdict do you think the jury will return? We got not guilty of 34%, guilty of manslaughter at 29%, and a hung jury at 20%. Actually, I take that back. That was the poll we did after lunch, after the first hour and a half of deliberation. Uh-oh, did we just get an update? Let's see. Nope, we just have the Post-it notes. That's the latest we've got there, which is cool. I like the Post-it note update. Okay. When did cops become peace officers in the U.S.? It often doesn't seem to be a suitable job title. Can seem like a bit of a misnomer in a lot of situations. Keeping the peace sometimes appears to be very violent. Didn't some say jurors ask for photos too? Michelle, I haven't seen that yet. I'm checking WFAA right now. Their reporter, William Joy, who goes by @WilliamJoy on Twitter, if you want to follow William, has been giving some updates. But let's see, not much else. Yep, I'm just seeing there in his replies. You sort of have to dig for him. But all we have is that they got Post-it notes. And now the reply is gone for some reason. Recovery Addict says KQD. COP was a British acronym for Constable on Patrol, if I remember correctly. That is correct. That's where it came from. But asking about peace officers, the term peace officer, when did that start? Stony Bulldog points out that he turned off the audio on his cam. It shows guilt. Stony, I had a question about that. I really did. You don't have to type in all chat. It's all caps. It's not a bannable offense here in chat. But just tag me on something if you need me to look at it. That question about his audio on his cam. The testimony we heard from the body cam expert told us that there was a mute button on the camera. Basically, it's not like you don't just cover up the microphone with your hand or something and now you can't hear anymore type thing. You can't. It's not like that. There's actually a button that effectively makes it go away. There's no audio. It makes everything go away if you hit the button, and that's how that happened. It's the only way for it to happen is for that button to be pushed. And at one point, the button was pushed. And it wasn't while he was outside being directed to the car and saying, hey, sit here. We're going to have an officer come, follow protocol here. It was while he was in the crime scene, in the house. I believe it started while he was in the hallway, walking to the kitchen type thing, or walking to the living room area. So, yeah, that concerns me. I mean, I realize it happened, but why was it not brought up? Why was there not a question of what happened there? Did anyone else have a body cam running? Can anyone testify to what was happening at that moment? Was it an oh crap moment, and where something was said that might have been very damning? MB says, one of two, recovery addict. Some of my clients are especially unhinged. Part of my training was to not try to be a hero. If someone tried to hurt me, I could fight back or keep calm and use a little button. And two of two, if the button in my pocket to notify police who came immediately. Who would be more qualified to handle the criminal, the police or a therapist? I would definitely say if they were behaving inappropriately, the police are probably better trained than an average person. But the average person has the right to defend themselves as well, and I think that's what this boils down to is at the window incident. It was a right to self-defense. If you take everything else out of it. You've got two people with the right to defend themselves at a stalemate. Only a choice was made. All caps is where I buy my headwear, says Charlie. That's cool. Why the straw man? This case has nothing to do with defunding. Charlie, we're just looking at other things that might be a factor in this. It's not. We're not saying that that's what the reason was, but there are other issues that are typically raised in these sort of scenarios, so we can discuss possible influence from them. I don't think that was the case in this case, as has been pointed out. Turning the mic off could suggest guilt, but no one wants a manslaughter charge either, or even a civil suit. Yeah, and it might have been a sergeant basically that pulled him aside and gave him the signal, because I think there was a signal to tell him to turn the mic off. And then he asked the question, which might be, I don't know what the question is, but I can readily envision that in that moment the officer might give him an instruction that might sound sort of, inappropriate for the moment, considering someone is dying in the back room, right, or is dead in the back room, and maybe insensitive, but might be proper police protocol. So maybe they mute that so it's not there. But still, I'd want to know what was said. Nathan C. comes in with a super chat saying, thanks for covering. You think we'll get a verdict today? Nathan, I sure hope so. I really hope so. I was hoping we would have deliberation yesterday, but we'll see where this goes. The jury's been out since 12:15 p.m., and right now it is 4:06 p.m. So we've got almost 4 hours. We're sitting at 3 hours, 45 minutes roughly of deliberation. One of that was lunch. So we're just passing the time that we had in Darrell Brooks and Matthew Terry case. We're passing that point. So if a not guilty is supposed to come back, it might be about right now. I'm not sure. I think we'll get one today, though. KQD, and by the way, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate the support of the channel, Nathan. KQD says, if I understood the expert testimony, the audio uses a very small amount of storage compared to what is used by the video. So why have the mute? Is it to protect privacy? Yeah, it's definitely not for a space issue. And the camera itself, as the expert testified, KQD, was capable of recording in 2K video, which is better than what I'm streaming in right now, better than 1080p. But the department had the setting turned all the way down to 480p, which is basically old television resolution, before DVD. So police and peace officers are not the same thing. Peace officers work part-time and police officers work full-time, apparently. Good to know, Culver. I appreciate the clarification. I was not aware of that. MB says, as I've always said, Atatiana had every right to defend herself and her own, and Aaron Dean was acting as a cop. There's no winner here. Yeah, it was a bad situation. But looking at this, we're trying to find a solution, and obviously we're here in our little court of public opinion trying to solve the world's problems. You know, what's the solution to make this not be a next time, to make this not happen again somewhere else? My guess would be someone switched to peace officers for public engagement reasons if that was changed to that. Can't find anything on it, though, says Culver. Okay. Looks like Toxic is stepping out. See you tomorrow. Or is it Sam Terry who's stepping out? I'm not sure. I missed that. Oh, it's Toxic. Toxic, please I hope everything goes well with you. Hope you're feeling better as well. Thanks for being here in chat for all our live streams today. For those of you that missed, we had a great police chase live stream that happened last night in California. I usually go live 9 o'clock every morning Eastern time. I went live about 45 minutes early with the police chase that I actually stayed up all night putting together. That was just incredible. We had 3 helicopters, so 3 different channels covering from different sides, and it ended with the police dog biting the wrong person, and really using him as a chew toy. Just amazing footage and good and good fun watching. It was fun for everybody except for the chew toy, which I imagine once he gets his settlement check from the lawsuit, because
there's a lawsuit.
Yeah, there will be a lawsuit. He's going to be happy. Recovery Addict, read Weather Watch. He found it. Weather Watch says it's actually an old term dating back to the 1800s, or 1906 or 1960s here in the U.S. Since the 60s term has actually been going away, so it's just an old term. Cool. Thank you, Weather Watch. I appreciate that. Weather Watch is a genius on many things, including the weather. And we've had his expertise on here earlier in the week when the courtroom for the Aaron Dean trial was under a tornado warning with the rotation visible confirmed from radar. Recovery Addict, maybe we're trying to find a solution for something that's a 1% kind of thing. Has anyone ever heard of a case like this? Well, we had on the stand the last expert for the rebuttal witness that the prosecution brought on, the use of force sort of police protocol expert. He had a very similar case also out of Fort Worth that the defense raised, where the police shot someone in his own garage when they were responding to a call on, I think it was an audible alarm on that one, which seems weird because how do you go to the wrong house when there's an audible alarm? But they went to the wrong house and were confronted with the homeowner and shot him and killed him. And in that case, they were found justified in their shooting, or were found not guilty. Or he argued, I should say, I should clarify, he argued for them being found not guilty. That it was justified shooting. So I think that this type of scenario probably comes up more often than we would hope. Bite Me says, did they ever find the right guy? Bite Me, I don't think they did. Talking about this car chase from this morning, go back and watch it. It is absolutely bizarre. The guy that gets out of the car and runs is wearing a black hat, a black T-shirt, and blue jeans, and he runs into the liquor store. 7 seconds later, the camera pans over to 20 feet down the sidewalk from the liquor store, and there's a gentleman in a hoodie, a blue cap, and carrying a tall boy, a can of beer, walking away from the liquor store. He's the guy that got bit. So clearly he's not the one, because there's no way this guy could have run in, changed in 7 seconds, and been that far down the road, down the sidewalk, in that brief moment where we don't have visibility on where he is. So that happened. Then there's a guy later on in back of the liquor store that might have been laying down and hiding, or possibly was maybe sleeping one off in back of the liquor store. He also was wearing a hoodie. Does not look like the driver at all. They arrested both of them, and they arrested the passenger. So they arrested 3 people, and then they said, we've got the driver. But it doesn't look like the driver. So at some point, someone got in a hoodie that wasn't in a hoodie before. And maybe they bought one at the liquor store and put it on and then got arrested. I don't know. Miss L says, Recovery Addict, years ago, our police department actually had the peace officer / patrol officer discussion during labor negotiations. They voted to stay with patrol officer. Probably a good choice. I like patrol officer better for what they do. Katrina says, MB, I was first on the scene to a very bad accident. Both were at fault. Both made colossal bad decisions at the same time. Lose-lose. Are you Katrina, are you implying that this was also a lose-lose situation? I'm not sure. depending on how I look on it, depending on what evidence I'm looking at, I'm not sure if either side was at fault. And then other times I look at it and say, well, the officer could have done something different and probably with his training should have, which doesn't that translate to fault? Training and policy changes, says MB, but that still doesn't fix this case. It won't, and nothing will. Nothing will fix it for the family. Even a big settlement in a civil lawsuit is not going to fix it for Zion. It's not going to take that memory away. It's not going to fix it for the family, for Tatiana's family who lost her. She's gone for good. Settlement doesn't fix that. Okay, checking the interwebs again for any updates. And I'm not seeing anything yet. Okay. Just had the Post-it note update. That's it. Okay. I see what it is. It was replying to William Joy. William Joy replied to himself and said there's Post-it notes that have been asked for. That makes sense. Okay. The OODA loop, Weather Watch, the OODA loop is the cycle Observe, Orient, Decide, Act. That's what OODA stands for. It's an acronym. Observe, Orient, Decide, Act, developed by military training strategist and United States Air Force Colonel John Boyd. We heard a lot of OODA looping going on. For me, Weather Watch, the argument about the OODA loop and saying exactly what he was doing at each point and how many OODA loops he had gone through, that wasn't as clear. That didn't ring true for me. Maybe someone who's more familiar with that process, practicing it and doing it, could recognize those steps from the body cam footage. But for me, that seemed like his guess as to what was happening. It is a real word, Debbie. OODA loop. I heard you mention Daryl Brooks. What's going on with him? Dodie Sweeney, first of all, thanks for being here. The Daryl Brooks is appealing, and he wants to get out until his appeal is decided. He is not going to get out until his appeal is accepted and granted. And I don't think that'll happen either. So I don't think he's getting out. But he does, just like any other convicted, any other convict, he has the right to appeal. And on these appeals, I believe he has representation. So we'll have to see, or at least he's asked for representation. No, I'm wrong. I misspoke on that because I saw his appeal and it was handwritten and he wrote it. And there's no way his attorney would be like, I'll just pass on this handwritten note from my client to the judge. That's serious negligence on the attorney's part. So I think he's still representing himself in that appeal. Bite Me says, fixing to clock out. Y'all have a great evening. See you in the morning. Bite Me, I hope you don't miss the verdict because I hope the verdict happens here soon. 4 Alpha Zulu, love the name there. Looks like there's an airplane there. Is that the tail number, 4 Alpha Zulu? Except for not following procedure prior to the shooting doesn't negate the fact that the officer reasonably felt he was being threatened and acted appropriately. Yeah, so as long as not following procedure does not also equal breaking the law. I think we're on the same page for Alpha Zulu. And I love the plane. I've been up in a couple small planes. It was a rough experience, but when the pilot isn't pretending to crash the plane, they're really fun. The OODA loop does sound made up, and I think they should come up with a better acronym than that. But I guess it works for what they're doing. I was wondering why they were not talking about reaction times in tunnel vision, rather than some stoic noodle whoops or whatever. Yeah, I think that lost him. RA says, me too. RA's wife, I should say, my wife. Yes, that's the tail number. That's awesome. We've got KDQ here in chat, just a couple lines above you. His that used to be his old CB call sign. So we've got tail numbers. We also have some ham radio call signs in chat and the subscribers. So it's fun to pick those out. But that's awesome. I'm also a pilot, but only for drones. Charlie says you don't get to wrongly endanger someone and then claim self-defense to their defense, to their self-defense. This isn't Uno. Dean played the reference the reverse defense card and should go to jail for it. That's what the jury's going to decide right now. Really, I guess that's what it boils down to. They'll figure out if this is whether it's self-defense or not. Great example would have been count the number of times the basketball is passed between the players, and they have the gorilla walk through the background. You don't notice. I've seen that video, and obviously I've just ruined it for everybody by saying that. So if you know that there's a gorilla that walks in the background, you'll see it. But the first time I watched it, I did not know there was a gorilla, and sure enough, I nailed that number. I knew how many passes there were, but the monkey in the background, I had no clue. So yeah, we see different things, what we're looking for. He was 8 years old, questioned in a little room without the parent. Stoney, yes, he was. He was also in state custody. Like the state had legal custody of him at the time. So my question is, does that change? Where he did not have a parent there, the state was his parent for legal purposes. Bullish says he asked for counsel this time, so he's going to get counsel. But I think his initial appeal was handwritten, right? Or his notice of appeal, because I've seen a copy of that. It's on the Discord if you go over there. I think if you go over to Discord, you'll see that on his area. You built RV7A N25AZ N2 November 2 54 Alpha Zulu is the tail number. So building RV7A, is that a kit? Is that a kit plane? Or is it experimental aircraft, I guess would be the term for it? Graham Finlayson Fife says, defense did an awful job. Didn't tell the jury that both people can simultaneously be lawful but mistaken. Both can simultaneously be lawful but mistaken. And in that case, it's just a tragedy, right? But the prosecution came out and said, a tragedy is spilling your cereal or spilling the milk in the breakfast cereal. And that is a tragedy because I like milk and I like cereal. But they didn't. Defense didn't come out and say that. They took the stance that she was breaking the law, which, that's a harder sell to the jury, I think. Brent says, recovery addict, you're right. Changing policies will not bring her back, but it will hopefully save someone's innocent life. There should never have been two rookie cops working together. MB says, I was distracted by the big monkey and missed the ball count. MB is not getting distracted at all. She sees everything. DMB Secondus says, recovery addict, I figured it out. We can't watch the Yon trial because 80s Music Man isn't here to bleep him. Right, that one is going to have some language if that ever goes live. I will say in the time when he's at the beginning of the trial, yeah, it's all nice. It's almost professional. It's Your Honor, if it pleases the court, it sounds pretty good. He's got the terminology there. He understands what emotion is. He understands that emotion has to, the components that it has to have. He's filed them properly with the court. So he's got a leg up on where DB was for sure. But when it doesn't go his way, when he doesn't get his moment to address issues to the court, he flips and he goes beyond where DB went. Sam Terry says, Mike Fenn, welcome. Put an @ recovery addict. He will answer you. What did I miss, Mike? Let me scroll back. I'll find you here. Right here. First time viewer, nice setup. What's your background? Law enforcement, lawyer, trial addict like the rest of us. Yes, trial addict like the rest of you. I have interest in law. I've read it and studied it since I was just a junior high student, and learned it and loved it that way. I've been through civilian police academy. I've been through a lot of ride-alongs and experience with officers. I worked in the news media. I have a lot of contacts with public information officers, and I've always been closely connected to that. I've listened to a police scanner since I was a kid, and this has always been something that I've been interested in, but I've never been employed in that area. I work in amateur radio. I've worked closely with the police and with, in emergency situations, doing evacuation, things like that, but I've never been directly employed that way. other than I've filmed for them and stuff. Dodie says, I started watching crime videos with Nicholas Cruz, then Daryl Brooks. I am hooked. Those were good. You missed some good ones before that. I mean, you can go back to a couple Florida cases that will just make you shake your head. Yes, it's experimental. It took about 5 years to complete. That is awesome. That's really cool. I would be willing to try flying an experimental airplane, but not flying an experimental helicopter. That's where I draw the line. Some of those little helicopters that seem to be mostly rebar and a gas little small engine, they scare me to death. That looks like a human shredder waiting to happen. I apologize if I've missed anybody. My chat's going a little bit fast right now, but if you do have a question, do try to tag me in it, and I'll try to get to you. Charlie says, recovery addict, if a serial killer used the excuse, after I threatened them, wouldn't they would have killed me if I didn't kill them first? Would we take it seriously? I doubt it. We wouldn't. You can't, I guess you're getting at what the prosecution said. You can't create the threat and then claim self-defense, right? In terminology, many of those of us who have concealed weapons licenses might understand. You can't threaten someone. You can't pick the fight and then shoot someone in self-defense, right? That's what you're saying. Or that's what I think you're getting to there. Graham Finlayson Fife says, if the officer is found guilty, police should just allow burglaries to happen because apparently people don't appreciate the job they're doing. The Supreme Court has ruled that they have no duty to anyway. I don't think so. Here's my question. And Graham, maybe this doesn't answer exactly what you're getting at, but if you have some friends who are officers, if you have people who are on the force and who maybe have a few years of service under their belt, ask them what they think about this case. Ask them their opinion as far as what was right and wrong, or what would they do, or what do they think the jury should do in this situation. I think that would be very telling. I don't think that you'll find that sentiment that they say, well, if they don't let him get off, then we're never going to answer a call again. Let them deal with it themselves. I don't think you'll see that. That's just my take, though. There was no burglary. That's right. There was no ransacked. It was just a messy house. Grumpy Cat says, recovery addict saw the Dean body cam. He shouted the command, put your hands up, show me your hands, and then fired. Jefferson had no time to process the instructions. Grumpy Cat, you're right. The time between him starting to say, put your hands up, show me your hands, and when he fired was what they said, like half a second. It was right in the range of half a second, which is that's right about the amount of time it takes you to flinch in reaction to something, like a flinch, not like a full-on movement or dropping a gun or turning your hands or putting your hands up. That's a flinch type response. Ed says if you have a concealed weapon and unconceal it, that is deadly force. And not in all states, Ed. There are some states that require there has to be another element present. I know we've talked about in New York that just someone seeing your weapon, say if your clothing that's concealed in your weapon moves in a way that just exposes the gun, even if it's just part of the gun, that could be considered brandishing. But not all states treat that the same. Mike Fan says, recovery addict, nice. We checked two of the same boxes. I'm an amateur radio operator as well, and I'm in media. Awesome, Mike. What do you do in media? I'm more on the video side of it. And I guess now I'm on the voice side as well a little bit. Very good take, says Kolovar. The vast majority of cops I've met and known take the protect and get the bad guy thing very, very seriously. Counterpoints is an ex-cop, and I'll introduce you sometime. We'll have to do that. That would be awesome. I'd love to talk with people who have an inside look. Really, a lot of us can look at this from the outside and say this was wrong or that was wrong, but talking to someone who's been there and knows what it feels like to be in that situation is interesting and well worthwhile. I recommend if your area, even if you're not a fan of officers, right? If you're on the side that says cops are wrong, we defund the police type thing, even if you're on that, I would say bite your tongue a little bit, okay? Swallow your pride if needed. Do what's needed. And if your police, your sheriff's office or something does a citizens police academy, which is usually like a 10 or 15 week long class where they walk you through law enforcement, how they operate. You see it from the inside. You get to talk to people and ask questions. You get to experience. You get to, in my class, you got to be tased if you wanted to be tased. You got to try to take down a police officer with a in a red man suit. You got to see the demonstrations with the dogs. I got to be a victim in a SWAT team scenario with a hostage. It was all airsoft there, but it was very realistic. You get to experience some things and see it a different way. And a lot of times we see everything because of our experience. We see it through the lens of our experience. And that even if you don't agree with it, you going into or going out of it, I think that provides valuable insight into how they perform and why they do what they do. I would say, in my opinion, the vast majority of police officers are good people who would take a bullet for someone. See a detective. I'm not sure who that is. Oh, Bella. Sorry, that was to Bella. Sorry, I just jump in people's conversations here. Mike says, recovery addict, executive producer of local morning newscast. That's awesome, Mike. What market are you in? If you're comfortable sharing that. Awful doesn't always equate to unlawful. Yes, there's only a second from command to fire, but it can still be reasonable in the officer's mind. Right. It can, and according to what Aaron Dean testified to, if from that standpoint, in that moment, I think it was lawful. I think it was. I think that he could make that decision. He says he saw the gun. The way he described it is consistent with how other individuals in that same scenario have described seeing the gun. I think that was believable. I think his testimony in general was believable, especially in the fact that he was admitting to things he did wrong. He wasn't trying to paint himself as a perfect police officer. Can you frame in a Zoom call on this screen and have an expert guest sometimes? Yes, Ed, we can. We're setting that up right now with, we'll probably get Weather Watch sometime as well, but Matthew Harris, we're going to be doing some testing this weekend just to get that timed up. My concern isn't getting the Zoom call in, because I've got, as you can see in the background, I've got 8 different sources I can bring in, whether that's from an iPad. I can bring a phone in if I need to, with the video and audio as well. Multiple different sources. I currently don't have the ability to bring an NDI camera source, but other than that, I can pretty much bring everything in. And my only issue is the timing of the audio, and that's what we're going to be testing. But we will be having guests on the show for sure. Weatherwatch says, recovery addict, my dad is a retired LEO of 45 years. It's always interesting to hear his take on some of these different LEO-involved trials. That's what I'm getting at. That's what we need in situations like this. Evansville, Indiana. That's awesome, Mike. Good to have you here. Hope you enjoy it, and please do come back often. We'd love to have your input from the media standpoint. My experience is not nearly as extensive in media as yours is, and so I'd love to hear anytime that might be pertinent to what we're discussing. Let's see. Yes, welcome, friend. Everyone's a friend here. We're all good. Still nothing. What do you guys think? Are we going to get a verdict tonight? Am I going to have to skip my meeting? Mrs. Ari says you can't skip the meeting. I've been invited as an honored guest to this meeting, and I really can't skip it. Coffee Mom says, what software or program is used for streaming? Great question, Coffee Mom. I actually use hardware. I'm using the Blackmagic Design ATEM line of video switchers. I have a 4-channel and an 8-channel video switcher. The 4-channel is what makes this picture right here possible, because it runs my green screen and puts my background behind me. And then I can take that output in as an input on the 8-channel and use it in this little box like we have right here. So I use that. It has a hardware encoder in it, much like OBS might be on your software. It will encode the stream and send it directly to YouTube. So even if all my computers turned off, I would still have a live stream going out with camera and audio to the internet. For me, that works better because it's not dependent on the processor to encode the video, which some computers don't do very well at. Rajesh, welcome back. Says, remember what happened last time you went to a meeting? Yeah, not again. Last time I went to a meeting, there was a verdict. That's what happened. And if it happens again, I'm seriously looking at how I can do this. I might have to take multiple devices and go live mobile from a Christmas party with a verdict watch. How would that work? Oh, man, let's just pray that doesn't happen, right? I hope either they're almost to their verdict or far from it. Not to change the subject, says Dodie, but what do you think of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial? Dodie, I watched that live as it happened, and like most people, it was way too much. There was so much drama, and at the same time, I loved it. So it was interesting. It was too big, right? It was too much show, too much attention, and everything else. But I kept watching every day, as so many of us did. I'm not following it as closely now with the appeals, with the the whole insurance thing, the back and forth. I'm not following as nearly as closely. Bella says, "Do tell Recovery Addict you're a special guest." Awesome. I'm a special guest in this video. I missed that, Bella. Sorry. And granted, I'm behind on the chat, so I'm a little bit behind. KQD says, "Skip a party on all that good food. We can wait for the verdict later if necessary." We won't wait, though. We'll watch it live as it happens. We might have to talk about it in the morning, but no. DB Secondist says, Recovery Addict, does this other thing you have scheduled include pickles? If not, is it really worth it? There better be pickles, DMB. For those that are new here, I have a thing for pickles, particularly the spicy maple bourbon pickles you can get at Walmart. It's Sam's Choice brand. It's Walmart brand. If you have not tried those pickles and you like pickles, you're missing out. You basically failed as a pickle lover. They are fantastic. I eat a jar of them a day when I have them. And so I have to buy them in small quantities, or else I would just eat all the pickles. MB says, I'd send the assistant if I was an honored guest. I'd be much too of an introvert to be that social. I'm going to be there with a youth group as well. So I'm sort of there as a leader and a representative at the same time. Colvar says, Recovery Addict, is the jury taking so long a good thing or a bad thing for the defense, do you think? I think it's good. I really do. If they'd come back really quick, well, I think if they would come back really quick, it would be better. How about that? But I think that they're taking a long time means they're really going over things. And that means there are people, when they did their straw poll, they didn't all agree. And that's a good sign, because at least there's somebody on their side that they know right now. Hopefully they hold on, right? That's what they're thinking. See you, Abby. Good night. Thanks for being here, all the way from the UK. It's been a long day for you. Thanks for being here. Richard Davis says, Recovery Addict, I love Black Magic and use DaVinci Resolve as a go-to. I have not used DaVinci Resolve as much. I use Final Cut Pro for my software of choice for editing, Richard. But the Black Magic is fantastic. As a matter of fact, can I say this? I just ordered last night. Last night I just ordered another Black Magic device, and it's the HyperDeck Shuttle. Which is it's a little desk control. It looks like it has a little wheel on it, a couple of buttons. It lets me record video very quickly onto this device and play it back at various speeds and rewind. It's like a replay, but it will enable me to grab the highlights and the clips that happen in court so much faster than what I'm doing right now, recording off a switcher and unplugging, bringing it, importing it, editing it in Final Cut, rendering it, exporting, loading it. You know, it's just such a headache right now that it's really difficult. It would allow me to really step up the production value of what we do here without a huge change to how I'm set up. Bella said, I thought Mrs. R.A. said you must make appearance because you're the special guest. I'm hearing things. Okay, that's what you were talking about. Yes, I must make an appearance. And I have to be there in an hour and a half, which is not good. If RA ever gets a P.O. box, that post office box is going to be full of pickles. That would be awesome. I can't imagine the face on the postmaster when he calls me up and says, look, your box is full of, one of them broke, and all we can say is pickles. So Oh, Weather Watch says recovery addict. Quick poll: who has completed their Christmas shopping? This is a great poll. This is fantastic for this time of year. Let me just get down here. Have you completed? Completed. I'll try to spell it right. Your Christmas shopping. This is a great Verdict Watch poll. If I can spell everything right. Recovery addict wife, are you going to respond to this one?
Well, apparently you already bought your Christmas, so yeah, okay.
She said, apparently I already bought my Christmas, so now she's good. So me getting that little device, that's my Christmas. And I'm happy with that. Pauline went today to buy spicy bourbon maple pickles at Walmart. They were sold out. I tell you, buy stock in Walmart. Buy stock in Walmart's spicy maple bourbon pickles. They're fantastic. I have not tried the mango, the spicy mango version, which is of the same make. It's usually right next to it on the shelf. But maple bourbon pickles are very good. The mango habanero pickles has more heat, but are good too. I'm not a mango fan. Really, that's it. And the reason why, I can tell you this, Grumpy Cat. My first experience with the mango was when Mrs. R.A. when Mrs. R.A. Made me a smoothie with a mango. And this would have been a wonderful smoothie had the mango been peeled. Because the mango had this like fuzzy outer exterior that was not as good. And so I'm sort of ruined for mango because of that. And she's not appreciating me sharing this story. I am a true hardware junkie, and I love it. Yes, I think I did the math here on this. Just trust me, it has been years of acquiring hardware to get to this point. I could in no way just afford this all at once, but I've got close to $10,000 worth of gear on, within arm's reach that make this happen. And it does take a lot to do this, but I wanted to do it with hardware and not software because of reliability. I caused a run on pickles. It's my fault. Still nothing from the court case. I need a big P.O. box. Culliver says, I'll buy you a tent for Christmas after that story. Yeah, I'm going to need it because I'll be sleeping in the backyard. Good thing I'm in a warm area. It might get freezing tonight, though. So send the tent quickly. All right. Okay. For those that are here, we're on jury watch right now, or verdict watch in the Texas v. Aaron Dean case. This is the case of the police officer, or now I guess we could say ex-police officer, because he did resign 2 months after the shooting. He's in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas area, Fort Worth, Texas area. He was a police officer about 1 year. A rookie on the job, 1 year on his own on the job, responded to a call with a fellow officer who was a rookie who had been out for about 3 months on the job from the police academy, or 3 months on her own. And they both responded to a call that was coded as an open structure. The neighbor across the street had seen that the two doors visible to the neighbor, the front and the side door of this home across the street, had been opened. It was 2:30 in the morning. They'd been open for hours. They're normally not kept open. They responded to this call and approached this house cautiously, according to them, as they would a burglary in progress, which was roughly protocol. From where it went from there, it's disputed whether or not they followed protocol. They inspected the building, or made an initial inspection. Looking in the doors, they saw what they initially thought was a ransacked house with a very messy kitchen with doors and drawers open and things on the floor. It turns out it was just a messy house. But in the process of going around to the back of the house, Officer Dean took a line that kept him right next to the house, came around and approached a window, looked in the window, saw right on the other side of the window a silhouette, and then he says he saw a gun that was pointed at him, and the gun looked huge. That was filled his awareness. He drew his firearm and said, "Put your hands up. Show me your hands." Or the other way around. Show me your hands. Put your hands up. At that point, he fired. But the time between when he started speaking and when he fired was roughly about half a second. On the other side of that window was Atatiana Jefferson, who was a resident who lived in that home. She was there watching her 8-year-old nephew in that same room. They had been up playing video games at 2:30 in the morning. The reason the door had been open was because little Zion, 8-year-old Zion at the time, had been cooking hamburgers, and as cooking goes when you're playing video games, things burn, and the hamburgers burned, and it filled the house with smoke. And so they opened those doors. They left their screen, the storm doors closed, but they opened the doors to let the smoke clear out of the house, and then they went back to playing, and had been playing probably for many hours when this happened. Atatiana had heard a noise outside and had asked Zion, "Did you hear that?" And he said no, but she had heard a noise, and in one account he says she thought it was a raccoon, probably just trying to reassure him that it was nothing, but still she went to her gun, which was kept in her purse, down on the floor, over towards the window. She picks up the gun and is there on the other side of the window. At that point, as Zion describes it, he says in one account that she raised the gun and pointed it, and the officer outside the window fired and shot her after saying, "Put your hands up," and she didn't, and he shot her. There's another account that he also gave testimony on the stand that says that she didn't raise the gun, and she had it down at her side, and that he didn't hear the officer say anything. I believe that was also in the testimony. So we have a situation where that single shot that was fired at very close range went through Atatiana's heart. It was a killing shot. There was no way to save her at that point, unless you could immediately rig her up to an artificial heart. There's no way. Her heart had been destroyed by that shot. Officers did both Officer Dean and Officer Darch entered the home rather quickly, and went to the back room. Immediately, Officer Darch, the female officer who responded, heard Zion just crying uncontrollably. Zion's first words to her was, "Am I going to go to jail?" Her heart just melted. Literally, you watched her on the stand, and she just felt so bad. She immediately grabbed him, took him out of that room, said, "Here, come with me. You're not going to jail." On the way out of the house, taking him away from that scene, so he wouldn't have to hear the agonal breathing of Atatiana as she was dying on the floor there in the room. She wrapped him in a blanket and took him out and stood by the curb. In the meantime, for the next minute, Officer Dean surveyed the room, and he said that time passed differently for him. He didn't realize it was a minute, but it was a minute of him surveying the room, and part of that, the first part was looking around on the ground and finding the firearm. And at that point, he said something to the effect of, "Looks like we have a firearm." The prosecution has basically said that's basically the smoking gun as the proof that he didn't know a firearm existed until then, and that also lines up with the fact that when he first fired, he never said gun. He never told Officer Darch as they were entering the house that there's a firearm, that I saw a gun, I shot, they were aiming it at me type thing. There was nothing there. In the defense expert witness, they brought on a witness that said they analyzed the photos, the video frame by frame from the body cam. And the expert was able to pick out shapes and shades that they were able to say, this is her arm, this is the dark object in her hand, which they allege is the gun. It was difficult to see. In the moment, they didn't show us, but those of us that have watched the body cam and watched it, I watched it slow down, and it's very difficult to even see movement on the other side of the glass, because on the outside of the glass, Officer Dean is holding a very bright flashlight in one hand, and then he turns on a rail-mounted light on the gun in the other. So mostly what we get is reflection. So it's basically just his word against Atatiana's, and Atatiana is dead. So we have a little bit of information from Zion, but that itself is conflicting, and it's hard to go on. The fact that they entered the backyard is an issue for a lot of people. They had to open a gate to get into the backyard to get to where they were. Had they just stayed in the front, according to what some accounts of protocol is, when they had first seen signs of possible break-in, they never would have been there. They would have called for backup, and probably it would have been announced at that time once the building was surrounded, and arguably that shooting never would have occurred. So I know this is a quick recap. It doesn't cover everything. There's a lot of factors that came up in there that deserve to be discussed and are pertinent to the issue. But basically that and a little bit more information has been provided to the jury. and the jury has been deliberating since 12:15 p.m. today, and they're charged with coming up with one of three solutions, or verdicts. Either he's not guilty, either that, or he's guilty of murder, or he's guilty of the lesser included charge of manslaughter, and that's what we're waiting for now. What is the punishment for manslaughter? I don't know specifically, but it would probably be he'd probably serve less than 10 years, is my guess. Georgia, it is a fact that that there's an all-white jury, and it has, I guess that's luck of the draw, because juries are selected quite randomly, and both sides have the ability to strike people without cause. So, the judge will strike someone if they have cause, but the jurors individually can be stricken by either side without cause. It's a preemptive strike. Anyway, that's where we're at. And unfortunately, we don't know when this verdict will come in. It could be in the next 5 minutes, and it could be in 5 days. I doubt it will go that long, but it's a long time. Stoney says, did they show proof she pointed the gun? Did you see that? Stoney, they initially, in the defense lawyer got up in his opening statement, and he says, you're going to hear on testimony how this green laser was pointed right at his chest. And we didn't hear that. There was no testimony from any of the witnesses that occurred. Yet, even in our own group, we've had people who have been able to go back. I think it was MB who said she went back and looked at each frame of this, and you can see there are clearly multiple frames in this where the green laser appears to be shining through the window. And in the pictures that I've seen of that, it's consistent with the green laser being shined through glass. I've done that. I have a green laser. For my science classes, I've played with lasers a lot. I've played with refraction, deflection. It's consistent. It looks consistent with the laser shining through glass. That would have been pertinent, because that laser is fixed to the gun. It can't be aimed independently of the gun. And if it's shining through the glass at Officer Dean, then that's proof the gun is pointed at him. They did not prove that. That testimony was not solicited or offered during the trial. Weather Watch says severe tornado warned storm approaching. Not a confirmed tornado at the moment. New Orleans. Man, this is the same line of storms just moving through. Absolutely crazy. 7 says, recovery addict, are you still here till the verdict, or do you have to dip soon for a meeting? I do have to dip for a meeting, but I think we won't have a verdict tonight. We did not see the proof, though, so we will not know if the expert was correct. Well, we had conflicting experts, too. Depending on who pays them to testify, that's what they testified to. Mrs. R.A. says, has anyone changed their mind after discussing this? And I'll say yes. We did polls at the very beginning of this trial, right after basically opening statements. We did polls to see what people thought, and guilty or not guilty. And initially, we had about 80% of the people who said not guilty, and that's changed. That's changed all the way to the last poll. Oh, we have a poll going right now. I need to stop that one. Let's see, this current poll, the question was, have you completed your Christmas shopping? No, 66%, 2/3 of you are complete slackers, and have not completed your Christmas shopping. Wow. Have I finished mine? I didn't start. I have an amazing wife who does the Christmas shopping for me. Culvar says, under Section 12.33 of the Texas Penal Code, the consequences for manslaughter conviction include fine of up to $10,000 and prison of sentence between 2 and 20 years. Right. I don't think he'll serve 20 years. I don't think that will be the sentence. I believe it will be probably a 10-year sentence, and he'll serve less than that. Like 3 to 5 type thing. If that's the sentence, if he gets manslaughter, if that's the verdict. That's just my guess. Recovery addict, I've watched it a few times, and I don't hear, there's a gun. I hear, there's a weapon there. Very factual. Yep. But MB, shouldn't he have said something like, there's the gun? Or something to that effect. There should have been something. Even protocol-wise, he should have said something about there being a gun there, even outside the building. His behavior might have been different. having seen a gun. And granted, he's a rookie, right? He's only been there a year. This is probably the first time he's had a gun pointed at him on the job. But I mean, did he just freeze and forget his training at that point? It's possible. I don't know. I'm torn. Debbie says, recovery addict, can you leave the stream up while you're gone? But we couldn't pull up the courtroom to see the verdict. Debbie, I have the capability to leave the stream up and allow you guys to pull up the courtroom remotely. Granted, this is a terrible idea, so I'm not going to be doing it. But literally, I have the technology and the pieces in place that would enable you through certain commands on chat to switch the cameras on my switcher remotely from your end by sending a command in chat to manipulate my video switcher to show the live stream, turn on audio, you name it. I could set it up to do everything. The problem is under YouTube's terms of service, I can only use a lot of this video under the fair use doctrine, where I have to provide commentary, I have to provide analysis and things like that. And if I did not do that, if I did not put your commentary and my commentary on screen as things were going on, I would be in legal jeopardy of breaking a copyright law. So for that reason, I'm not able to do that. Otherwise, that would be fun to let you guys have keys to the car sometime. That would be crazy. I can only guess what you guys would do with my channel if you could control it remotely. DMB says, one of the non-slackers, I'm all done. The only thing that hasn't arrived yet is one of my mugs, recovery addict. Okay, I'll check and see where it's at. It should be arriving soon. Thank you for your order, by the way. Has the family filed a civil suit yet? I've heard it's been filed. I know they've retained a civil rights lawyer, and that's Lee Merritt. He's the gentleman who the judge really told off, on day one, the end of day one in court. That's an amazing video if you want to go back and watch that. After a shooting, you can't expect the perfect words from Dean afterwards. Reasonable doesn't mean perfect. I agree. I've been in traumatic situations where I did not do. I was not perfect afterwards. Probably because of the stress. Things were happening differently in my head. I've been in situations where I think I've said something and I haven't. I've just thought it because my brain is going so fast that it just doesn't compute the same way. And that being his first traumatic experience like that, obviously his first shooting in the line of duty, you can expect there to be some element of that at play. Well, I don't think he had any time to say anything other than show your hands, having the gun pointed at me. You react. The fact he said anything at all was amazing to me. I can see that, Clover. And he did get 2 full phrases out and started a third before firing. That does speak well for him on that side. I mean, that's a good solid point on the defense side. I agree protocol probably dictates different procedures for announcing a weapon, but I also think he said that what he said or acted, how he acted, because it was his natural reaction. So it was like a instinctive, like a flinch type thing. A natural reaction to do that. Dropping the ball for the chat. Yeah, sorry, I did that. Yeah. All right, so here's where we're at. Let's do a quick check of the time. It is now almost 5 o'clock, right? So they've been deliberating for 4 hours and 45 minutes, if you include lunch, and they probably started talking about it over lunch because they could, and they've been muted, until there. But that's a full day there. I mean, they got there probably 9 o'clock in the morning. They've been pretty busy. They've got a lot of things to cover. The fact that they've got Post-it notes means they're probably being methodical about what they're going through, and there's a lot of evidence to go through. I don't think they can probably finish tonight. I've said that before, and I was wrong. It's only 4 there, right? It's 5 here. Katrina says, I think you have a couple days. Possibly. We might. And maybe we'll be looking at police chases tomorrow as well. Let's see. Let's bring me on the screen for a little bit. Am I ready for the children's Christmas party? Do you need to dress up like Santa or something? I'm not that special of a guest. I believe that special guest will be there already, but that's not me. My ho-ho-ho isn't very jolly. Let's put it that way. I really hope they're making OODA loops with Post-its. That would be funny. That would be funny. They actually might be going through that decision process and saying, this is when he did this is when he did that. Maybe OODA loop is their code word in there. Has anybody thought of a Facebook group that we could join to chat about the verdict if you're not back? I've got this community page. I'm not sure how that works. We might have to look at that. I do apologize. I am new at this. We've only been live streaming on this channel since basically halfway through Daryl Brooks. So it's been rapid fire coming at me pretty fast. I've got a lot of things to do to fix and make it better, and I appreciate your patience in sticking this out with me and growing with the channel. I will look at what we can do to make that possible. I can definitely have a placard window in place saying basically I'm going to be going live. That will allow you to have a chat room open as if you're waiting for me to go live. That would allow you to chat, but it wouldn't have any video. It would just be a still image of that basically is my thumbnail for the video. I can do that. You can chat in Discord, of course, please. I know there are some people who are still not on board with Discord, which it's worth the effort. It really is. Let's see. Scott's mug is getting delivered soon, along with Steven's hot chocolate and Sam's pickles. It's going to be a recovery addict Christmas for me. AJ, that is amazing. I love that. Community page will work for that, but you have to create a post before anyone can start discussing things. So create a post with a question, and then we can talk. But Facebook is better. Thanks, Kolvar. I appreciate it. I may lean on you a little bit if you're able to help me with your added experience and expertise in this area. But I'll try to create one here tonight after this live stream and before the Christmas party. So I'll try that. I think either way, I think you guys might need to have the bell rung on the subscribe button to be notified for the community page or the community post, but I'll try that. Are you able to send out a notification alert once the verdict is in for live if that is already in progress? I have to jump off, but don't want to miss it if it's tonight. Franco, I think I could do that with a community post as well, and I think I could do that remotely. Kolvar, thank you so much. Kolvar, if you could send me something to the burner phone. Do you have the burner phone number? I might just give you some access here, as far as directly reaching me and vice versa, if possible. That's the burner phone number right there that I just posted. If you can send me a few things and just verify that would be great. Hurry, hit the like button and the bell and subscribe and share, says Miss L. Thank you very much, Miss L. I appreciate you. Appreciate all the mods and all the good people who are here today. We're gonna play a little bit of. Well, first I want a sound effect, right?
There's a lawsuit.
Yeah, there's a lawsuit. We're gonna go that way, and then we're gonna play a little bit of music. So let me find my music page. I was on the wrong one. Okay. I'm going to be watching this even at the party, and if we get notification that there's a verdict, I'm going to be a torn individual between a rock and a hard place. We'll figure out something, but I need all the help I can get, MB. I really do. You guys are amazing. Fantastic chat. I say this to you guys, but I'm serious when I say it would not be the same without you. This community, this group of subscribers and supporters is what makes this channel special, and I'm so grateful for you. I appreciate it. It's an honor here to be with you every day. Let's see. So it looks like there's going to be a page over on Discord if you want to talk there. I'll try to make a community chat as well, and if needed, I'll make another placeholder for a live stream for tonight, which I only come live if something happens. So either way, I'll be in chat before I delete it if they don't go, if you don't have a verdict. I will have fun. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. As I say always, please, when you get home tonight, please hug everybody you love. Smile at somebody, make their day just a little bit better, and please be safe until we go live on the next one.